A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, as they'll say, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but for me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
All right, hello there, everybody. Welcome.
Hello. How you
this
doing?
This festive episode of Open Bar. Look, you know when it's that time of year, you know it's Christmas when this guy appears. What, you can't see it. There it is.
Man.
Anyway, well, how you doing, MauLer?
Pretty good, yeah, pretty good. Nice and Christmassy. It's getting there, isn't it?
It is getting there, yeah.
Fun shenanigans are on their way. Oh my god.
They are, and it feels pretty good to be here. And you know, it's time of year to gather around the fire and tell tales of happy times. And well, I'm not sure if we can provide that for you guys tonight, but we'll do our best anyway.
Yeah, do everything we can.
Yeah, we'll try. Anyway, so as is customary, we're almost out of these now, so we should enjoy these while they last. But like, we should cast our minds back, in this case, to the distant year of 2022. Can you believe it?
Wow, so long ago.
I know, we've pretty much caught up with reality here, but well, that was the year that Queen Elizabeth became the first British monarch to reign for 70 years and then died.
Oh, rip.
It was like mission accomplished, I suppose. You know, she pretty much broke the records on everything, and then that was it. Done.
Yeah.
So, I still remember that, actually. That happened on the day that we did Open Bar. It was like 2 hours before it or something.
It feels like it's been longer than I thought since then, actually. 2022. Was it late 2022?
Yeah, it was like September, I think. September, October. It was like towards the end of the year anyway. And yeah, I remember like I'd been out and about doing stuff, and then you messaged me and it was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
What do we do? But yeah, we carried on. We soldiered on regardless. You know, truly we are the heroes that everyone doesn't deserve. But yeah, it was a mixed year, I suppose. It was the year where they removed all remaining COVID restrictions, so that was nice. It was also the year when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. That was 2 years ago. 2 years. Yeah, it was also the year Russia invaded the Ukraine, but you know, I'm sure that was a quick and easy thing that got resolved. Oh wait, maybe it didn't. But anyway, yeah, 2 years ago that all that happened. And weirdly, it was also the year we had 3 different prime ministers in the space of 2 months, which was impressive.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever managed that before. That is another record. So Boris Johnson stepped down. Liz Truss was elected in September and then resigned in October. So that actually made her the shortest serving prime minister in UK history. So she was in office for 50 days.
Well,
that was all we got. Yeah, and then Rishi Sunak took over there. So we had 3 prime ministers in the space of 2 months. So yeah, we're always finding new ways to embarrass ourselves in front of the world. So, you know, never say that we don't try. Anyway.
Well. I've been distracted by the everlasting debate, which I don't know if we've ever discussed it, but whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. There's still people out there who say no.
Nothing gets me in the Christmas mood quicker than watching Die Hard. You know, it's just one of those essential Christmas viewing experiences for me. And I can't help but feel festive. It's not just the fact that it happens to be set around about Christmas. There are there's tinsel, mistletoe. You know, you've got a charming story about a man trying to reconcile with his wife, facing a bit of adversity, and then getting together with her in time for Christmas to go back to the kids. I mean, what's not to like about it?
It's got to be that thematically it's about family and it's Christmas time. Like, how could you, I don't know, man. It's crazy, you know, that there's people out there who still deny it, but that's fine. They're yet to be converted, I suppose, you know, they're all in.
Yeah. Should I put a poll in chat, actually?
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we
Let's
can
see.
do
I know
this.
that I know Jeremy thinks it's absolutely not a Christmas movie, Geeks and Gamers. So I watched
Well,
his debate with Ryan, which was interesting.
well, I mean, Jeremy's at least 5% retarded, so I think we're all entitled to be a little bit wrong in our lives. Hold on.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to a bad take, you know.
Yeah. So, all right, hold on. Let me just give me 1 second while I set up this poll. Yeah. Okay. So, right. Yeah. Start a poll. All right.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Wonder if we have anybody on the panel today who has the wrong opinion. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Well, we'll bring our panel in a second.
Find out the horrors.
Yeah. All right, here we go. The poll is up. And we'll leave that running for now. Anyway, while we do that and we let it marinate for a little bit, we should also give you a little rundown of the big movies of 2022. So, in a particular order, so I'm going to go top to bottom here. The biggest movie of the year, far and away, was Avatar: The Way of Water with $2.3 billion.
What a movie
amazing.
That was.
Yeah, millions of people, tens of millions of people actually were willing to go and see what was basically a glorified screensaver. So that was impressive.
I mean,
yeah,
everyone remembers the story. What a story it was. Very much story told.
Oh, it's so story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Sully, like that's just gone down in the annals of movie history with Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, James
Classic.
T. Kirk. Yeah.
There was a whale and it helped them do stuff at one point. I remember a whale.
The whale flopped up onto the boat and started destroying things. I mean, that was a movie of all time. I cried a tear.
Yeah.
Second place was Top Gun Maverick, which to this day I fucking love. It's just like that movie had no right to be as good as it was, but damn, that was like just a feel-good movie in every sense. Loved it. Jurassic World Dominion, that's a big favorite of yours, MauLer. That was just over $1 billion. That made. I thought you had.
No, still haven't seen it.
Oh, is it Fallen Kingdom you'd seen?
Yeah, Fallen Kingdom is what I despise so much I didn't watch Dominion.
Okay. Well,
you might see the new one though, right? There's another one coming.
There's like 10 more coming, I'm sure. Yeah, it's just there'll be plenty. Also, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that was in 4th place. I know you're a big fan of that one.
That one's my big favorite. Yeah, I do love that one.
And then Minions: Rise of Gru. I just help me out here. I don't understand the Minions movies. Like, I feel like
little creatures that run around. That's all I know. That's all I can do to help.
They're just and they just keep making movies about them. But that made almost $1 billion, so people liked it clearly. Yeah, people are pointing out as well. Scarlett Johansson's going to be in the new Jurassic World movie. I mean, know what? I'm going to say it right. I'm just going to come out and say this.
What are you going to say?
It's not as exciting as it used to be having Scarlett Johansson in a movie.
Wow. I mean,
she used to be.
That's the reason.
Well, she can act for sure, but like you want her there for eye candy, and that's not what she's providing anymore. And I feel like you could put Sydney Sweeney or someone in it, and
wow,
you'd get. I feel like that would be a bigger draw at this point for the audience for Jurassic Park movies. I'm just saying.
Well, I think she's earned a chance to entertain us as a character actor, right? There's probably not going to be much sex appeal in Jurassic Park 7 or whatever the hell this is.
So someone beat me to the punch on this one, actually. The new Scarlett is Sydney Sweeney. Yes, she is. Because Scarlett Johansson, I think she's reached that stage of her career, right, where like the sex appeal thing is like taking her as far as it can go, and now she's like, well, I was actually deeply offended by all this hypersexualization of me, even though I made millions of dollars from it, and now I want to be taken seriously as an actress, don't you know? And then no one's really interested anymore. But hey ho. Also, it was the year that gave us Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Ooh, classic.
We also got the Batman.
Yeah.
This is good up until a point.
Bag.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
That was not a mixed bag.
It was a big bag of shit right there. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, I love that movie.
Uncharted. That was pretty shit. Black Adam. Wow, they gambled and lost on that one.
Yeah.
And we also got Triple R that year, which was, I'll always be grateful to that one for introducing me to Tollywood cinema. Not even Bollywood, but Tollywood.
Tollywood, all right.
Yeah, but no, that was a great movie. I don't know if you've ever gotten around to seeing it.
Wait, the which specific film? Sorry,
Triple R or
oh yeah.
R.
Wait, that's considered Tollywood? I don't even know that I'm fully familiar.
Yeah,
with
well, it's the specific region that it's from, and it's not specifically classed as Bollywood. It's something else. So Tollywood is apparently what it is. But anyway, yeah, you've seen it.
Yes.
Ah, okay, good. Anyway, just as far as our poll goes, we're sitting at, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes, 83%. No, 17%.
Well, looks like that's it then. It's not even, if it were like 60-40, I guess there'd be a conversation to be had. But 83-17, I mean, I'm just saying, it looks like the truth has won out. I don't know. That seems to be the case.
It's good that people have accepted the reality of this one. Anyway, we should probably bring in our panel because we've been talking for like 10 minutes and we haven't even got our esteemed guest in.
They're in the cold looking through the window like, I have opinions about all of the things you just said.
Yeah, they're probably waiting to jump in on this one. Let's bring them in, shall we? Welcome everyone to Random Film Talk, Echo Chamberlain and Northern English Bastard. Hello, you gentlemen. How are you this fine evening?
Hello, you
good. Yeah, great to be on.
Yes.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and it's pronounced GIF. Let's move on.
Read Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Anyone who says so is wrong.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Christmas miracles, family, all that good stuff. Takes place at Christmas. What more do you need?
Exactly.
We invite the best people.
The thing is, well, I guess the question really as well is like, what feelings does it inspire in you? Does it make you feel like it's Christmas when you watch it? Or do you just think, oh, it's an action movie, whatever?
It's a classic Christmas narrative, trying to get home to loved ones for the Christmas holidays, and there's like a little impediment in between. It's not your usual rom-com impediments where there's like a romance that's sort of thwarted. There's lots of gun violence and shattered glass, but there's still the basic framework, so it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sometimes we have to deal with roadworks or delays. Other times we have to deal with a gang of West German terrorists. You never quite know what you're going to be facing.
Yeah,
but no,
I still get bugged out by that weird thing at the beginning of you can cure your jet lag by curling your toes in a certain way. I've never seen that raised before or since, except in that one movie.
I don't know. It feels like one of those weird things that like one of the script writers or the producers heard one time from a guy on a plane somewhere and just decided, fuck it, I'm just going to like work it into my script somehow.
It sounds true enough. We'll just do it.
I mean, I've tried it and it did not cure my jet lag in the slightest.
But either that or it's got a Tarantino-esque level foot fetish, because there's like a lot of stuff to do with feet in this film, curling toes and lush carpets and bloodied feet.
I think it sets up that whole premise of like that's the reason he doesn't have shoes on, because he's trying that weird thing with his feet. And so, like, okay, like then he gets interrupted in the middle of it and he has to run for his life. And that's why he doesn't have shoes on for the rest of the movie. And it all leads up to that whole bit with the glass and the feet. And to this day, that still gives me the chills. Like when he has to walk across the broken glass and it's like pulling it out.
It's such a simple way to make the character feel more human and more vulnerable, because in particular, the era that movie came out in, it was very different to see an action hero like John McClane. And just something as simple as take your shoes off. It's like, well, this introduces a whole load of new challenges that everyone can relate to. So yeah. Really good decision.
It's as he says himself, it's better than being caught with your pants down, which was pretty good. That whole scene though, when he's he's like in the bathroom, like pulling the broken glass out of his feet, and he's on the radio to Powell, talking about his wife and like tell her like that I'm sorry and stuff. That took a long time to shoot apparently, because they tried it a whole bunch of different ways, like whether he was going to be angry or he's going to be stoic and resolute. And I think it was Willis himself who pushed for it to be like emotional and that he'd be holding back tears while doing it. And it was the absolute perfect call for that moment in the movie, just to give McClane a little bit of a human edge. He wasn't one of these big, like, invincible 80s muscle men like Stallone or Schwarzenegger would be. He was something a bit more relatable, which, yeah, turned out to be like the perfect call for a film like that.
Yeah, it's more of the fantasy because, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because he has been through a lot as well. He's just survived a shitload of gunfights and explosions. Everything he's battered, he's tired, and yeah, of course he's going to be a little bit emotional. He's nearly broken down.
Yeah. It's when you see him right at the end when like he comes in to try and rescue Holly from like Gruber and like there's one other terrorist that's still alive at that point.
Oh,
and
he's just like who said, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker."
Yeah. But he's just like a walking wreck at that point. Like he's beat up, he's bloodied, like he can barely stand, and it's just like, damn.
He's got full bullets left as well, and he has to make sure he gets all his fucking targets, which isn't easy when you're that fucking tired after all that.
Oh yeah. No, it's good stuff. Anyway, we've waxed lyrical about Die Hard long enough. I feel like you could have a whole stream just devoted to that. Almost like you could do it on EFAP, actually. That'd be a good choice. Yeah. Anyway, the first thing I was going to bring up actually was, you guys remember watching Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? You remember how that was like one of the biggest disasters in Lucasfilm's history? I think they brought in 350 million worldwide against a budget of about 500 million, or God knows how much they spent on it. Well, I mean, James Mangold's finally come out and started talking about his reaction to it and the fan reaction to it, and it's not great. He feels that the reason the film failed was because fans just couldn't accept Harrison Ford being old. That was the reason. And I'll quote him here, where he says, "You have a wonderful, brilliant actor who's in his 80s. So I'm making a movie about this guy in his 80s. But his audience, on one other level, doesn't want to confront their hero at that age." And I'm like, I'm good with it. We made the movie. But the question is, how would anything have made the audience happy with that other than having to start over with a new guy? And then here comes the lifelong heroes from my childhood into my life going, we have something for you to work on. It was a joyous experience, but it hurt in the sense that I really love Harrison. And I wanted audiences to love him as he was and accept that that's part of what the movie has to say, that things come to an end and that's part of life.
So you have no idea what people's issues with the film is.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, like, people didn't have an issue with him being old. They had an issue with him being supplanted by someone who was just this obnoxious, unlikable, idiotic stand-in for him. They had an issue with the plot making no sense, with the action being CGI heavy, with time travel being involved, with the villains being like one-dimensional cartoon morons. Any one of those things, take your pick. Like, the movie was a disaster from start to finish.
I find it kind of interesting because, yeah, it is like, I don't know, you're ordering a meal for everybody and you're like, we get McDonald's, okay? So, don't be shocked when your food comes in and it's not going to be fantastic. It's McDonald's. And it comes in, it's just a pile of shit. And you're like, well, I had to order McDonald's. You're like, that's not, I get it. We're not really in a great position already. Ancient Indiana Jones, but I think Az did a video on this, as many discussions have been had. There's huge potential, and they didn't do shit all with it that was good, and instead they did a shit ton that was bad. I even kind of have a partial jokey PTSD with the opening of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, where they might have dragged him further down than any given hero in all of fiction. He's got like every attribute you would never want. They made him hate his job. They made him lose his girl. They made him lose his son. They made him alcoholic. They made him basically hate existence. He's suicidal.
Don't slag alcoholics, MauLer.
I mean, the bad kind.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of shit where it bugs me because I know Mangold's capable of a lot. I've seen plenty of stuff from him that's excellent. And it's even more annoying that Logan has way more respect for an aging hero than this film did. And just to throw all of that at me for Indiana Jones, you'd be like, look how fucking terrible he is. And then by the end of the film, he wants to commit suicide, and that's prevented by her hitting him and dragging him back to reality or whatever, I'd just be like, what did you think was going to happen? Why did you think this story would be something that Indiana Jones fans want to fucking see?
Yeah.
Well, I was 7 or 8 when I saw Wrath of Khan on a VHS, and even then I could cope with the idea of this poignant idea of time and how it can affect beloved characters and how it can weigh upon them and how you can explore those themes in a really beautiful way. But if you'd had Savick at the end, like knock Captain Kirk out because he's being a silly old sulky fuddy-duddy, I don't think that would have been a good resolution for the film.
No.
No,
I'm just wondering if, like, because that film went through hell and back for reshoots, right? That's one of those films that was focus tested, infinitely, if memory serves. And I'm just
likely.
So yeah, there's actually like there's talk here in this article actually from Cosmic Book News about the proposed original ending where a young Indiana Jones would have sacrificed himself to save Helena. It says here, the ending that took place in the 1930s featured a young Indiana Jones sacrificing himself to save Helena, causing the old Indy to fade away because he no longer existed. Helena then picks up the whip, dons the fedora, and becomes the new Indiana Jones. The classic John Williams score then hits. And Mangold actually talks about this. He says, when I came onto this movie, they'd been playing with a bunch of different things, which were basically just reduxes of what had happened in the first movie. Just more apparitions and ghosts, and I felt like I was just watching the first movie over again when I envisioned what was in the existing scripts. He said, and I felt like what Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and Larry Kasdan had done successfully in the other films was to keep kind of pulling up a rock on a different aspect of history and metaphysics and not just going back to the same thing. In a way, I didn't want to do the kind of, is it a Death Star again?
I don't know, just like that was when someone says to you Indiana Jones is erased from history and a girl picks up his hat and does his legacy for him, your first thought is, I don't want to see Raiders again. I'd be like, I feel like there's a different problem here. Maybe we should focus.
It's rewriting history as well. Like it's kind of like cultural Marxism on Indiana Jones here. Rewrite it, but to suit the feminazis in a way.
In some crazy alternate universe, they went with that original script idea, and man, I would have just loved to have seen the reactions. Like, who in their right mind would then embrace Helena as the new Indiana Jones? Who would then say, "Wow, she's wearing his hat and she's got the bullwhip and she's wearing the leather jacket. Cool, I like her as much as I like him now."
Instant non-canon. It was non-canon anyway, but still.
Yeah, I mean, the people who would like that.
Oh, they tried to make her sexy, like she eyes up all the half-naked sailors, and then there's like her former lover who's stalking her down because he's still obsessed with her. That was never quite going to fly.
It's weird because they make her sexual but not sexy, in the sense that she lusts after a lot of guys in the show, and I guess we're supposed to like clap and applaud that, but like she's not sexy at all. And I don't know if that's just the choice of actress or just the way they wrote the character, but like there's nothing to find appealing there in Helena Shaw. Like she's just I don't know how to describe her. She's like a goofy, bumbling Brit who is trying to like put on the facade of being a brave adventurer, and it doesn't hit home. It doesn't work.
No.
Nothing about that film worked. The pacing was dead. You just lurch from one set piece to another with no proper connective tissue to anything.
The hardest of hard threes.
There's no mystery as well. There's no sense of mystery. Like when you got the Raiders of the Lost Ark, you did feel that mystery. You were wondering, okay, what the fuck is this? We know something bad's going to happen here, though. And we never got that with the Dial of Destiny. We never really felt that sense of wonder, but also that weariness about it.
Yeah, there's Heinkel bombers, or a Heinkel bomber, flowing through the sky. There's some kid who's also going to be the pilot. There's the ancient world down below. They're parachuting out. It's slapstick nonsense when it should be the moment where it's especially It should be super succinct for that, to just give a glimpse of magic and of the ancient world that would have, been at the very heart of hearts for this character. Instead, they turned it into schlock.
I don't love the idea of time travel anyway in Indiana Jones, and like, it just felt so out of place. It was as out of place as like having space aliens, in the Crystal Skull. Like, it's just, Indiana Jones is meant to be about like earthbound mysteries, and it's usually got a religious aspect to it. Obviously, like we've got like the Ark of the Covenant covers the Jewish aspect. You've got like the Hindu thing from Temple of Doom, and then you've got Christianity with the Last Crusade. I'm sure there's other things that you could have then broadened that out into and explore in other religions. You could have done Islam potentially. Like, Hollywood's probably not going to touch that one, but it's all interesting things that you could explore. And instead, they went for space aliens, and then they went for time travel. And I'll never stop laughing at the idea that like when they travel back through time to like ancient Greece or whatnot, the bomber crew's first instinct is to open fire on like, the people below. Like, why? What do you think you're going to accomplish by killing a bunch of people who don't even know what you are?
Well, that's Boyd Holbrook, right? He's just a crazy guy. That's him specifically.
So crazy. I like that FBI agent that's like important, and then she isn't, and then they just kill her, and then the plot moves on. Cool.
We're in an age where no one can take the L. Like the people from the Acolyte, they just couldn't accept that the show didn't connect with an audience. And even the guy who responsible for the Jaguar commercial came out lambasting all the people who criticized it as being, reactionaries, and no one can take the L anymore.
Yeah. Like, the best thing that the cast of Madam Web did was just admit, like, our movie sucked. We know it sucked. It was stupid. And, we can just laugh at it now. And they all came across pretty well as a result of that.
Yeah,
that's the way to handle it.
Some of the interviews with Dakota Johnson is the actress who played Madam Web.
She's actually got a good sense of humor about it also. Kind of got respect to her.
Yeah, definitely. Like that, a film that bad, you've got to hope only happens once in your career, possibly twice. And them being able to deal with it in the way that they did shows that, it shows that they actually have some quality as an actor. They know how to be at least somewhat honest about what they're talking about rather than being entirely PR trained. They came across as, genuine people from what I saw.
Well, after Catwoman, Halle Berry actually went to the Razzies ceremony. And,
I remember that.
Thanked the people for putting her in this bullshit movie.
Yeah, didn't she give like this really tearful acceptance speech? Like, oh my God, like so many people to thank. My agent. That's how you do it. That's how you handle it.
I mean, the film is absolute shit though, but she really puts her heart and soul into it. It's just a fucking bad film that's very laughably written, and I might watch it again.
I mean, this is kind of what Deadpool and Wolverine was playing with, like that faint sense of nostalgia for those like superhero movies from the 2000s, like before everything got locked into the Marvel MCU formula, when everything was like, just a money printing factory and it was all like super homogenized. You had a lot of these like goofy, stupid, sloppily put together films that like clearly were garbage, but like there's a certain charm to them because they were trying so hard back then and they hadn't quite figured out how to make all this stuff work. And everyone was just taking their shot. Like, oh yeah, we've got this like known character from the comic books. Let's just put a hot actress into the role, like have her wear basically nothing and just hope for the best. And you know what? There's something kind of respectable about that. Just know your audience and just give them what they want.
It was originally going to be a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman spin-off from Batman Returns, but I wish they would have stuck to that. I think it was after the flop of Batman and Robin that they decided to just scrap the idea altogether.
I think what we could have had.
Catwoman came out in like 2002, I think, which is, that's getting to like a decade after the Michelle Pfeiffer movie. So that could have been it. And there must have been some like production hell on that for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, there was talk, like briefly, they did consider the idea of bringing Michelle Pfeiffer back to do that movie in the early 2000s. I think she wasn't willing to do it, and it was like, okay, she's getting a little bit old for this, and so we'll
did she read the script and then say no? Or
quite possibly. I just know it was like it never got much beyond the ideas phase, but like it was something that they considered, and I just think again, it's like that crazy alternate universe idea of like, oh, maybe they did it with her, and like they probably would have. They would have made it some continuation of Batman Returns, I imagine, if they're going to have Michelle Pfeiffer come back. So it wouldn't just be like a standalone thing like it had with Halle Berry, sorry.
Well, she can still crack a whip even at her age. I mean, I think she did a little short video, and she's like in her early 60s when she did it, and she still knows how to work that whip. And yeah, I must.
That's what you want in any good woman.
I must have watched her a good few times. No particular reason why. I don't have to explain myself to you.
You don't need to. I understand. Yeah, I mean, you got that great behind the scenes video of like her whipping the mannequin heads off, and she just hit each one perfectly each time, like when they were filming Batman Returns, and it's impressive. She obviously put the time in to learn how to do it.
Role. She really does. She owns that role. I mean, she's not faithful to the original comics, but it's a little change that I actually do like. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Well, I think her role following that was a Henry James period piece alongside Daniel Day-Lewis. So I think she probably fetched up in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a super chat that came in. I was just going to answer here before I forgot. Johnson with a T says, Drinker, in your latest vid, you mentioned World War Z, and I wanted to ask what you thought of it. Would you agree with the idea that the most realistic depiction of a zombie outbreak? So I was referencing World War Z, the actual book, rather than the movie. I mean, I had to put footage in of the film because obviously I don't have footage of a book. But the point I was making there was that there's a lot of different aspects to that zombie outbreak that you got in the book that was never explored in the movie. The movie had almost nothing to do with the book. And I think probably the book was a pretty realistic depiction of a zombie outbreak where they end up defeating the zombies just through a methodical approach to like wiping them out. You know, they develop new weapons that are not like automatic assault rifles or anything where you're just wasteful on ammo, because like the only way to kill a zombie is to shoot it in the head. So it's just like single shot, very heavy caliber, powerful, and then they just have essentially the entire population of America that's left just conscripted into the military, and they work their way from the West Coast to the East Coast, just wiping out every zombie in their path. And that's how it's done. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's probably how you would handle something like that. So yeah, I think World War Z had some great stuff in it. It's a really fun, interesting book. So I'd recommend it to anyone. And the movie had some great action scenes. Don't get me wrong. Like the bit where they break through the walls in Jerusalem is pretty fucking cool. Well, it was a great action sequence. It's just got no connection to the books.
Yeah, missed opportunity, that film. It's a shame that they gave it a PG-13 rating because the violence just doesn't work and hold up there. There's one thing you mentioned in your video, the idea that some people would they get so much PTSD and get so psychologically worn down that they'd start to mimic the behavior of the zombies. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So they mentioned this, like, because the book is basically written as like eyewitness testimonies from various people who experienced the outbreak, you know, from different points of view. Like, so it might be an infantryman, like on the front lines, or like, you know, a pilot who crashes their plane and they're behind enemy lines, or all that kinds of things, or even like someone in the pharmaceutical industry. But the soldiers relate experiences where they saw people like walking alongside the zombies, like trying to act like them, and like I think they'd smeared themselves with like, you know, the guts of like a dead person or whatever, thinking that they would just almost like be one of them, and then they ended up just getting eaten. So it was funny how we laughed.
Yeah. The film had cliches like the kid with asthma, the car batteries that are run down and the car won't turn on. It also features the best product placement I think I've seen in a long time, because they ran out of money, so they had to do a quick thing with Pepsi. And so Brad Pitt, he's crawling through this installation with the flickering lights and just stops to have a refreshing Pepsi from a drink dispenser for about 1 minute. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope these zombies don't get a can of my booty sweat.
Yeah. It's funny though, like that movie was just a series of quite well put together action set pieces strung together by the most paper thin plot that I think I've ever seen in a film. It's just like, what's the reason we can go to the next place and the next place to get the next action scene? And you just think, damn, man, if you just taken the actual source material as your basis, you could have done something pretty interesting there. Oh well.
I was going to say, the only thing I remember about World War Z, I don't remember the plot. I just remember that I really did not like the way that the hordes of zombies were portrayed, because every time people were, every time it's involved in an action scene, it just looks like people are running away from a physics simulation. And it was so detached from, I mean, we may end up talking about it like 28 Days Later kind of thing, or like Dawn of the Dead, where there are individual zombies that are an individual threat. Whereas in World War Z, it was like amped up in scale to the point where you can't really connect with what you're seeing because it just looks so alien.
Yeah, because they kind of form almost like a tidal wave of zombies, to the point where it's like, okay, I can't see how this would ever actually work in real life. With something like 28 Days Later, like, yeah, you've got this outbreak that just spreads like wildfire before it can be contained. And I think it makes more sense in somewhere like the UK, where there's not like widespread gun ownership and like there's not really a realistic way to fight back against them. And so it would spread really quickly. What's that?
Except for Vinyl Record. Blue Monday, the Batman soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah. Throw it. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting question, I suppose, to ponder. Like, I do. The only point where the book sort of loses me is like they try to describe how the initial response fails, because they send in the military armed with normal weapons like tanks, aircraft, that sort of thing, and it fails to stop the zombies because their argument is like, well, all this stuff is designed to wound you in the torso rather than kill you with a headshot, and so. It doesn't really stop them. It makes a mess of them for sure, but like they overwhelm the military with sheer weight of numbers. And I'm like, yeah, but if you have a whole bunch of tanks, you could probably just drive over them. You don't even need to use your guns or anything. You just crush them. But oh well, it's interesting anyway. Yeah, the other thing that's coming out shortly is Kraven the Hunter, which I know we're all excited about.
It's been 2 years. I had to wait so long.
Yeah, it's not looking great for Kraven the Hunter. It's currently sitting at 16% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Everyone was hoping this would be a banger movie. What's happened?
Yeah, it's so bad apparently that it's basically signaled the end of Sony's like Spiderverse spin-off series that they've tried to do.
Madam Web.
No. There's not going to be a Madam Web 2.
We may never see a Madam Web 2 now. It's fully
sadly we won't. No, they've given a rundown actually here on Forbes of like the scores, the IMDb scores for each of the various movies in this little self-contained universe. So Venom from 2018 was sitting at 30% positive rating. Oh, sorry, this is Rotten Tomatoes scores. Venom 2, 58%. Ooh, the dizzying heights. Morbius, 15%. Madam Web, 11. The last Venom 3, The Last Dance, 41%. And then Kraven the Hunter, in the article here, they've got it listed as 14%, but it's climbed all the way up to 16%. So it's doing better. But essentially, yeah, each of these movies have been terrible and have had horrific scores as a result. And
it's like the modern equivalent of canon films, just B-grade schlock garbage that gets put out there as long as it can sort of make some money. But just the low quality of it is, maybe we should be glad that it's there, just on balance, because it's so terrible.
I mean, they cost quite a lot, though. If these were movies that were being made for, I mean, I say 40 to 50 million as if that's not a lot of money, but making a movie like that for that amount of money, it could distinguish itself from the like MCU, DCEU stuff. But like Venom, I don't know how much that cost, but it was quite a lot, would be my guess.
Well,
100 million?
No, yeah. So here's the interesting thing, right? Venom it cost 100 million to make, but then it made 856 million worldwide, which is
that's
pretty
impressive.
good.
Yeah, that's very good.
Hence the reason that they made more of these things. I'm just going to see what Venom 2, because I imagine that cost more. So Carnage. Okay, so that costs. Oh, I don't have its budget here, but it only made 506 million worldwide. So quite the drop. And then if we look at what Venom 3 made, I'm guessing it's even worse. Yeah, so Venom 3, The Last Dance, 472 million worldwide. So it's a downward trend.
I just checked the budgets for Morbius and Madam Web were 75 and 80 million, which is maybe a little bit more reasonable. But then again, compared with the amount of money that the Venom movies pulled, did they even make their money back once you include advertising? I don't think they did.
Morbius could not possibly have made it back. Let's see what have that made. Morbius box office. So, oh God, was a worldwide total of 167 million.
Oh God.
So it costs. So it cost 83 million to make. So if you take like the 3 times multiplier as your standard, it probably lost, by 20, 30 million. I mean, it could have been worse, I suppose. Let's see what Madam Web made. So Madam Web, that made a grand total of 100 million worldwide.
On a budget of 75.
Yeah, that's not great.
So the marketing double that, it's got to be a loss.
I mean, this is the thing, though. I can understand why they made Venom, but way back in 2018, and cost 100 million, made 850 million worldwide, and they probably thought, great, okay. Who cares if like it's getting bad reviews? It doesn't matter. It's making us a shit ton of money here. Let's just make more of these things. And from what I understand about Sony, they are absolute penny pinchers when it comes to budgets. That's why they're all around the 100 million range, if not lower, right? But like, when you've got a movie like Venom, it's making bank for them. So, okay, they're going to make more. But yeah, the quality control just isn't there. And you get that initial rush of enthusiasm, and then it just dies off. And that's what you see with all of these movies. And they end up losing the studio a lot of money.
I feel like Venom, as a layman for comic books, I feel like Venom was always going to make money because it's the one that everyone knows. It is the Spider-Man villain, other than, I guess, like Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin. But even then, Venom, I thought, was always the most popular Spider-Man villain. So it kind of seems as though they shot their load early, and then they were like, damn it, what else have we got? Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven. I hadn't even heard of Kraven the Hunter. Like, who the hell is he?
Yeah.
It's a shame this Venom isn't going to go up against Spider-Man unless... sometime in the future they change their minds, but I really hardly doubt it, and it's such a shame as well. I would love to have seen him go up against maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, or maybe even fucking Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, it was almost hyping us up for a second there.
So yeah, I mean, they're in this interesting position where Sony still retain the rights to Spider-Man, and Marvel, if they've got any common sense, they'll never give those rights back to Marvel. Like, they'll always license it out. So Marvel can make movies with Spider-Man in it, but like Sony have to get a good cut of the profits, and that's how they've done it. And that's why we got the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. So it's worked well for Sony because they essentially just say, like, you've got our permission to make this film with our character that we own the rights to, and we're going to get a big chunk of your profits, and we don't have to invest any of our own money into it. The only problem is they seem to lack the ability to make Spider-Man movies of their own, at least successful ones. And that's really that's got to be the centerpiece of any like little universe that they're trying to make. It's got to have Spider-Man in it, and it's got to be unique to them. And they've not managed to make a success of it.
Kraven the Hunter may be headed for an opening weekend gross between 13 and 15 million on a budget of 110 million. So that's Crow levels, like badness. If you guys had to choose between going into a cinema, you've got your options are The Crow or Kraven the Hunter. Which would you choose?
Kraven the Hunter.
I'd probably choose Kraven, yeah.
There's more chance of it being very funny.
I think there's at least a bit of fun to be had with Kraven. Like the Crow is fucking misery from start to finish, and so yeah, there's not much fun to be had there.
Yeah, and the Crow had what, a 5-minute action sequence towards the end. So I guess in Kraven the Hunter, you at least get a bit of that.
I think as well, though, like, you know, we're in this position now with superhero movies where the idea that you can just trot out like these relatively obscure characters. Like, I know Kraven's a big deal for comic book fans, but for general audiences, they won't know who the fuck he is. And so the idea that you could trot out movies that just focus on characters like that, and they'll be like crazy, like, you know, $1 billion movies or whatever, they're long gone. That's not coming back. And so they don't have enough rights to enough characters to make a success of this little extended universe that they're trying to create here. And Kraven is just an example of that. There's no buzz around it. No one's excited to see a Kraven the Hunter movie. It just feels like this pointless little endeavor. It's like, yeah, it is like Madam Web, but without the memes to go with it. I think it'll just be a boringly bland movie.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So in Nosferatu, Aaron Taylor Johnson and I think he's in that. Yeah, and Bill Skarsgård. So they'll probably meet up on the red carpet and go, "Man, we were in some shit films this year, but yeah, at least we got this."
That should be good, that though. I love Robert Eggers. He's got a very good, surreal, haunting style. And yeah, Nosferatu, I think even if it doesn't do well, I still think it's going to be a very competently made, atmospheric film. And I still want to check it out. I really do.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we've got him. You know, the Witch, the Northman. He's just got this aesthetic that I just really love. It's great.
He seems to respect history. Like in The Witch, they actually talk like
you.
Know, yeah, a little bit more eloquent, I should say. Yeah, like that's how I do that. It's like like how people spoke back then in those times, the Puritan era, anyway.
No one's craving Kraven. It's
a shame.
Ari Aster would be the other director that has done a couple of decent modern horror movies. Yeah, Hereditary and then Midsummer, which was okay. But then since then, not really paid attention to him. I don't think he's as good as Robert Eggers, at least.
Yeah, horror's fucking dominating at the moment. We just had The Heretic out. We've had the one with the horse. What was it? I forgot what it's called now. It's about the show horse, and he has an exorcist on and everything. And
you're talking about Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil with Damon Dasmalchian, if I'm pronouncing his name right. Yeah, that was a fucking good one. That he had. That it really looks like you were watching an old show from the 70s, and shit was going tits up. It was.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Scary, but it was creepy though.
I tend to agree with the they only feels like they 70% committed though with the behind the scenes footage cheats that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Robert Eggers also the Lighthouse, which is I think the Lighthouse is a modern classic. That film, I think it's great.
Oh yeah, that is fucking batshit. That. Yeah,
I've seen it once.
Yeah. Don't I? You love me cooking. You love me cooking. He gets all pissed off because he doesn't like his cooking. It's like a little housewife. I love it.
It's not just his cooking; it's his lobster that he talks about.
Yep.
That's not his cooking that he's referencing there.
There is a. Well, just quickly, sorry, I was going to mention Lee Whannell's movies because he's done a couple recently that I thought were fantastic. The Invisible Man remake and also Upgrade.
That was great.
And I've just
Upgrade
checked.
was good fun, yeah.
Yeah, Upgrade, I love it. And I've just checked. So for 2025, he's got a movie, a Wolfman movie, which I'm guessing centered on Universal monsters. Oh, okay. So it was going to be part of this dark universe. They've repurposed it after the failure of The Mummy, so it's going to be a werewolf movie by Lee Whannell. Could be good. Who knows? Because I think that was the case for Invisible Man as well. I think that was originally going to be part of the whole dark universe thing that they tried to do that one time, or those two times.
I saw pictures of of him in the wolf, and he just looks like a crazy old man, and that's it. It's like, oh, I don't know. Is this going to be good? I'm a little worried here because I like these old horrors and. From the 30s and 40s, and I don't know. We'll have to see when it comes out. Who knows? They might have changed it at the last minute. We don't know.
If you like those old-fashioned monsters, clearly you need to see Van Helsing. That will just sort you right out.
Oh, it's a
Dracula,
guilty
you've
pleasure.
got werewolves.
It's stupid, but it's a guilty pleasure. I love it. I love the guy who plays Dracula. He's no, I have no heart. He's so fucking hilarious. He is so fucking funny.
I think MauLer and I were talking about that. That actor was just around everywhere in the 2000s and then kind of faded out after that. But like, he was pretty good. He was a good villain. It was nice and campy, kind of what you'd expect from a movie like that. And it's, you know, the same people that made The Mummy and Deep Rising as well. Like that dude just, I think it was Stephen Sommers. He just had a run of like doing just fun action adventure movies like that with a little touch of horror in them.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's just a director who just wants to have fun and just make good, stupid movies to entertain us. And we need more like that, really. We do.
Wow.
Willem Dafoe just keeps making these knockout career performances and brilliant choices, from The Lighthouse to Poor Things to Nosferatu. He's just getting right to the essence of what he's capable of as an actor.
Didn't he? He was quoted saying basically that he comes in and he wants to help directors realize their vision. That's like his whole thing.
Imagine that, an actor who just like cares about the art.
I like he plays a lot of crazy bastards, but he seems like a really nice guy. I've just watched an old one with him as well, where he was really fucking young. To Live and Die in LA. Has anyone seen that movie?
No. Don't think so.
Oh, watch it, man. He's a pretty good villain. He's got this. He's got his very fresh face. He's very boyish looking, but he fucking still had a presence even back then.
I think probably the first thing I would have seen him in would be Platoon, and that's like what 86, 87.
Yeah, same for me.
I think that came out a year after To Live and Die in LA. I might be wrong.
Super young in that.
Yeah, a few times where he played a good guy, and he's very convincingly. He actually does come across very decent compared to Tom Berege's much hard and psychotic soldier.
Well, yeah, whereas most actors playing like some wacky or crazy psychopath is like unusual. For him, playing a normal person is like unusual. He's like, "You sure?" Like, yeah, we just want you to play this guy, and you want to say these lines. He's like, "Okay, I can do that."
I always like when the psychos are a little calmed, though. It's like Annie Wilkes in Misery. You know, the more calm she comes across, the scarier she is, because you know she's going to flip out any fucking second over the littlest thing.
Yeah. Like, I think MauLer and I were talking about this as well. James McAvoy, particularly when we saw him in Speak No Evil, like that ability to be like charming and charismatic and like funny, but then in an instant flipping into like psychotic, violent, dangerous, intimidating mode. And having it seem like a completely natural transition is a pretty impressive skill for any actor. And he pulls it off so easily in that movie.
Yeah, the super warm, inviting, friendly, supportive, wholesome type guy who just in one line can make you think like, is he going to kill me?
Is this the film you were talking about with the remake from the Dutch with the couples who go on holiday and there's the psychopath? It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if they had kept the original ending from the Dutch movie, I would have said that was an instant like drinker recommends, just on the strength of the performances. I think the dialogue up until the end is really solid, and it feels somewhat believable. Yeah, the whole bullshit with like the toy rabbit is a little bit annoying, but like I can understand how a couple would indulge their kid like that. But yeah, like the ending just evolves into like Hollywood schlock, like a shootout and like a chase sequence, and it's just kind of like a crappy slasher flick by the end, and it's such a cheap out compared to the original ending, which had like a really valid point to make and made it in really brutal fashion, but like you totally got what the movie was trying to tell you. Yeah, this goes down a different path, sadly. But yeah, McAvoy was superb throughout.
Yeah, one of my YouTuber friends actually mentioned this a while back ago, and I still haven't got around to seeing it. And yeah, I mean, from the way it describes it, it kind of goes back to Jordan Peterson saying that being a nice guy is not helpful. It's not virtuous. All you are is a rabbit to some predators. All you can do is get eaten. And from the sounds of it, yeah, Hollywood really dropped the ball on the remake.
Well, yeah, I mean, the point he made, I think to paraphrase him slightly, it was like, if you're not capable of violence when it's necessary, then you're not peaceful, you're harmless. And that's the difference. Like, it's the ability to be dangerous, but choosing not to. That's what makes you a peaceful person. If you're not capable of that, then you're just harmless and you're a victim. And I think that's what the movie touches upon, especially the original one. Like, if you're weak and you're not willing to like stand up for yourself when you have to, bad things are going to happen, and they certainly do in the original.
Yeah, because if you go back to the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, the actual guys, not what the Guy Ritchie film portrayed, they had to be incredibly fucking ruthless and violent and disgusting and do shit that would haunt them. And it was to really intimidate the fucking Germans, let them know we were not fucking about. And yeah, it wasn't polite though, but sometimes it's shit like this is necessary. I don't agree with it, but sometimes, you got to do things you don't always agree with. It's one of those shitty things in life.
Indeed. Speaking of shitty things in life, the War of the Rohirrim is also coming out just the next day or two, I think. Yeah. So I'd hoped that I would have been able to watch it in time for this open bar, but sadly it was not to be, and it's not quite available here yet in the UK. But I think it's out tomorrow, isn't it? We can go see it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can experience the delights of that. But I thought I'd take a sample of online reviews for it, and even The Guardian, of all people, think that it sucks. So they say, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim review. Redundant, flavorless animation. The plundering of J.R.R. Tolkien's source material continues with this plodding adventure turning a footnote into a film. Oh, dear. Yeah, so it says the rationale for War of the Rohirrim is not in its artistry. Sure, there's something lovely and almost tactile in this anime take on J.R.R. Tolkien. The hand-drawn styles, renovating Middle-earth to suit its taste, blah, blah, blah. That's not justification enough to sit through a plodding and joyless spin-off, the latest in content mined from Tolkien's books, following Peter Jackson's Rings and the Hobbit trilogies, and an Amazon prequel series now in its second season. Yeah, and like I think they go into a bit of a spiel about how the floodgates have kind of opened when it comes to like mining Tolkien's work for new content. We've got the Hunt for Gollum, which is on the way. I'm sure we're all really excited about that.
God.
Yep. This is just where Sorry,
I was going to say. So just quickly, what do you guys think the odds of Viggo Mortensen saying yes to that is? Because apparently he's been asked.
He said he'd do it.
Oh, has he said he'd do it?
He said he would do it. Yeah, he hasn't read the script yet, but he said if it's a good script, he will do it, and they'll just like digitally de-age him for it. He's 66.
Surprising. Yeah,
he's 66 years old.
He's
catching up to Aragorn's age.
Yeah, doesn't look as good as Aragorn did, though.
Still can't believe they made that Gollum video game. It's
incredible. How dare you?
I think this sentence, though, sums it up perfectly. Limitless IP plundering intersecting with the limited imagination in an industry chasing algorithms has gotten us to this point.
Beautiful.
I think that's
a great sentence.
Perfect. Yeah. Fucking hell. Like, we're in a world where I agree with The Guardian. What's become of me?
Yeah, you shouldn't make something out of a sense of aesthetic joy or impulse and motivation or fealty to a property that needs to see the light of day. You should make something because otherwise you need to fast track it to prevent New Line from losing the film adaptation rights. That should be your primary motivation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely the right way to go about a creative endeavor. And yeah, this is just another example. It's a weird choice to not make it live action and to have it be this like strange anime style, and then to give it a theatrical release. It just doesn't seem like it's designed to pull in like a big audience. Like general audiences, I think, would be a little bit put off by this idea.
Yeah, they were hoping Rings of Power would have drummed up interest.
I mean, yeah.
Like, yeah, the fact that it's a story about a character that basically doesn't exist in the lore. It's been ages since we had a Peter Jackson related. Not that it's not strictly Peter Jackson related, but it's I believe it's supposed to be in continuity. You've got Christopher Lee and you've got Philippa Boyens as one of the writers, so it's more connected to that than Rings of Power. But then also you've got. They're using lines recorded by Christopher Lee in The Hobbit to voice Saruman in one scene. I don't know what the context is. Man. If it's a conversation or if it's just a cameo line where you hear him say, "Go on, orcs, do."
I think Gary said he had like 3 lines or something.
Yeah. So those
give it time, they'll AI him into
Mhm.
subsequent movies like
yeah,
that.
James
We
Earl
have the
Jones style.
technology.
Mm.
Yeah. It says here as well, like Hera, who's the main character, is never named in the source material because she wasn't important. That slight, barely acknowledging her existence, only reinforces her story in War of the Rohirrim. She's elbowing out space amid all the entitled men who speak for her, including the overbearing father who dismisses her advice because she's not a warrior.
She's a channel, Marge.
And the childhood friend who turns toxic and spiteful when she rejects his romantic overtures because marriage wasn't about love in those days. Anyway, this is a feminist Lord of the Rings movie centering Hera as the girl hero. That doesn't prevent her from appearing here like so many femme anime characters that fans tend to drool over. So we've got this is just talking about the art style. The oversized eyes, the petite mouth, the sharp nose, and the thick thighs. Is that an anime?
Is that an anime thing? I need to watch more anime.
Yeah.
Is that THICC?
I love that. I love the duality of man we've got here as well. She's barely differentiated from her objectified counterparts in Ghost in the Shell, which was not about objectification, or Chainsaw Man.
Right.
All right.
Nice one, Guardian. So...
Well, they say in the promos, though the character can fight and ride horses like men of Rohan, the writers were not interested in depicting her as a warrior princess, which they said had become a common trope. Instead, they focused her character arc on the choices she makes and the choices that others make, which impact her life. Don't talk shit. You know, she's supposed to be a warrior princess.
She gets... Apparently, they're holed up at Helm's Deep for the winter while they're besieged, and one by one the other male characters all get killed off from shame or toxic masculinity or whatever, and then she's left to lead them in battle. And so that's how we get to her being the warrior princess that we all knew she could be.
We all know and love.
And it all goes horribly wrong because she's not a warrior.
The women are better.
Yeah. Gary, I know, has seen it. I wanted to get him on tonight, but he had more important things to do, so I couldn't get him. Yeah, but he had time to make a review of it. But yeah, he pretty much summed it up. Like it's girl boss ahoy with this one, sadly.
So they're being attacked by an army of Dunlendings, which sounds like an obscure Yorkish tea brand. Have a nice cup of Dunlendings. And I think, is there something vaguely masturbational sounding about the name Helm Hammerhand? That was my thought as well.
I mean, he's heavy-handed with that shit, but
I smash it all day long.
Yeah.
Some of the music gets super epic in the trailer as well. It sounds like the sort of music you have underneath a Space Ice video.
Oh,
except you've got some woman wailing, which sounds like Adele on the toilet. So I didn't think that was especially good either.
Hopefully this is going to be the mega hit blockbuster movie that tells us that girls can be bossies as well.
Mm-hmm. There's a scene in the trailer where she pushes open the doors in slow motion, just like sort of Aragon did, except she's wearing what looks like Lara Croft shorts. So it looked a bit weird.
It's kind of, yeah, there's odd, like, because I've seen shots from this, and like there's a bit where she's like riding a horse, and she seems to be wearing an outfit that looks more like the sort of thing Black Widow would wear. I don't know how to describe it, except it looks like a kind of combat utility fatigue thing. I don't understand how that relates to like the Lord of the Rings kind of styles that they had for Rohan.
They're kind of taken from that whole Anglo-Saxon Viking kind of aesthetic, wasn't it?
What's that, sorry?
Yeah, because it was all inspired from the old Anglo-Saxon Viking aesthetic, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, it was, yeah. So that's I guess what Rohan was aesthetically and thematically and so on.
It's strange because I've seen that apparently Weta Workshop, who obviously worked on The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they're also involved in some of the designs for War of the Rohirrim. So, I mean, if they're just doing weird shit like that, maybe those decisions came from the animators. I don't know. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic for the film. I am not expecting it to be good, but as long as I don't hate it, because I've hated enough Middle Earth properties recently. I just
this is where it feels like such a missed opportunity, because on the one hand you have the Rings of Power, which has like been resoundingly rejected by everyone, and so like everyone's mocking it, everyone thinks it sucks, and you think, okay, you've got the studio who owns the rights to the actual property, who did Lord of the Rings, who did the Hobbit trilogy. Let's not talk too much about that, but you know, they can show us as the audience that they've still got it and they still understand the property, and they can still produce great stories that are in keeping with the themes and tones of Tolkien's work. And this is what they choose to produce.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
it just it seems like such a missed opportunity. They could have absolutely won the fan base over by just doing something, I guess, more in line with Lord of the Rings. Like, if you're going to do a story about Helm Hammerhand, okay, make it about Helm Hammerhand. Don't make it about his daughter, who we don't care about, who was never mentioned, who's never part of Tolkien's lore.
It seems like such a weird creative decision to do that, because again, you're just going to alienate the, like, if the story is good on its own and they've just made it up and it's got no real basis because this character doesn't really exist in the source material, then okay, cool, you've told a good story, well done. But at that point, why adapt Tolkien's work? Just write your own story. I don't understand why they would do that.
Well, they said it's an organic choice made by the storytelling to make her the main character. I don't know if it's especially organic.
We will see.
I love that.
The animation to me looks like ass. I think the animation looks terrible in this. It looks like those 1970s schlocky kitsch things that they had, with the Lord of the Rings.
It's like they're going for the kind of 80s, 90s cartoon aesthetic, like that hand-drawn cell animation and stuff. Like, it feels a little bit fake in today's world. Like, Arcane showed us, like, animation-wise, what you can do in terms of like quality with superb. It's like motion capture, I imagine, is what they did with a lot of the characters' movements and stuff. It's super expressive, super interesting, and you can show all manner of like mature ideas, violence, whatever with it, and it's very effective. Doing this style just feels unnecessary. It's like trying to harken back to an era that this isn't part of.
I mean, there's plenty of absolutely a layman when it comes to anime, but people have shown me plenty of like animated scenes, in particular fight scenes that are somewhat reminiscent of the kind of thing that you see in Arcane. And I mean, they look incredible, but like the amount of time that it must take to make those, maybe that wasn't considered an option if they did decide to rush this out for rights reasons. Have they confirmed that, or is that speculated?
I don't think they've confirmed it, no. I mean, it would make sense that you have to make something with the rights every 10 years or so in order to retain them. So we're pretty much due for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it has been fast-tracked to prevent New Line from losing the film adaptations. But the whole thing about The Lord of the Rings is that you want it's quests and spectacle. You want depth perspective in the viewing experience. And so this just looks like ass. So missed opportunity for me.
I like this one as well. Colm Doyle says, remember the article that said Tolkien ignored her as if he copied his work from a source material and deliberately left her out? Yeah, that did make me laugh, because it's like, it's fucking his work. He can choose to like feature any character he wants or not. It's his. He's not obligated to make her the center stage, like when she doesn't serve a purpose. Yeah, it's such a weird it's such a weird use of like interpreting all of this stuff through a modern lens. Like, well, why didn't you make the woman the center stage of this narrative? Because like she wasn't important and I didn't care. Like, that's it. He
created a character, but then through some latent male chauvinist bigotry decided to downplay this character he created. That's an interesting circuitous logic.
Yeah. It's like the idea of applying this modern way of thinking. Like, well, why wouldn't you make a woman the main focus of the narrative? I don't know, because I don't have to. Like, it's not necessary. Like every single time. Like because I'm not born. I'm not living in the 21st century. And I don't have to do that. But like it's like they can't wrap their heads around the idea that you have narratives that don't revolve around certain demographics.
Well, they understood that for the most part with the Lord of the Rings, although obviously Eowyn and Arwen are both far more prominent in the films than they are in the books, as far as I've been told. But then they completely forgot all of the lessons that they learned in writing those characters when they did The Hobbit, and you have Tauriel, who is just tacked on and is as tacked on as you can possibly be, because she doesn't exist in the book and she serves no real purpose in the film other than to be a love interest.
In the movies, like Arwen is definitely given more screen time than she had in the books. So Eowyn is probably about equal, because she does get quite a bit of narrative time in the novel. So okay. I'm totally fine with that. That's authentic to the books. And yeah, like when it comes to The Hobbit, fucking like that trilogy still baffles me to the end of my days. I don't get what they were trying to do with that, but apart from make lots of money.
There's no original ideas, just leech off another person's IP. Nice and simple.
I like this one. The Rohirrim are literal perfection. They will be when they're led by a woman. I'm a woman.
All of the rim job.
Question that came in here from TWF says, Yo Drinker, you watched Cowboy Bebop anime a little while ago. Any thoughts from you and anyone on the panel that have seen it?
I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't finished it, but the bits that I watched, the episodes that I watched, really good. The way it alternates between like quite whimsical, funny, humorous moments, and then like dead serious flashbacks and stuff. Like, it's good stuff. I very much enjoyed Cowboy Bebop, and yeah, I can see why it's such a popular anime. I really need to make the time to finish it.
Kind of was inspired by it, because it's basically got a bunch of kind of dodgy people who, whenever they do get a reward, it ends up going on fucking repairs for the ship and food and blah blah blah, and leaves them with fuck all again. And the characters are kind of losers, but you still love them though. It's
bunch of misfits together on a bucket of bolts ship that's barely held together. It's not too far off Firefly, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of cross-pollination there. But yeah.
Yeah, you up on Jamestown on Firefly yet?
Yes. Funny you should mention that. We literally just put out our watch through of it today.
So I love it. I love Jane. He's a fucking asshole, but you gotta love him.
He's so good.
He's a likable asshole.
Yeah, he's honest. Like he'll happily betray his own fucking friend for money. He's honest about it. You gotta love him for it. I love Adam Baldwin.
Yeah. No, it's great. Like I liked him in the previous episode as well, where Mal just inherits a wife. Like she ends up being a spy and stuff, and like she's there for other reasons. She's not what she appears to be, but like they're talking about like getting to know her, and Jane just like comes in, like this woman who seems to be just like a piece of property. Like Mal's trying to be all chivalrous, like no, you can't just treat a person like that. And Jane's like, can I get to know her? Like he's fully willing to buy into this. No, it's good stuff. But yeah, the Cowboy Bebop anime, I enjoyed what I've seen so far. I look forward to watching the rest of it. Once I'm done with Attack on Titan, I'll get onto that. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm currently forcing him through all of Firefly, and I can't wait for him to see Serenity.
Oh, yeah, it's a real bind. I hate watching this. It's such a nice tonic to like most of modern entertainment, just to watch this like really cool show that was made 20 years ago with a team who didn't have a huge amount of resources, but just really had some good ideas and some good writing. And they lucked out with some excellent actors. And gosh, it's a nice little, time capsule from a different era of filmmaking.
I like the fact that you never know what the fucking Reavers are. You never see them, but you kind of imagine what they are just by the way they're talking to them. Then you get the movie where... I won't spoil it.
Shut up, you bastard. Yeah, I haven't seen Serenity yet.
It's pretty fucking cool, man. It's pretty cool.
It's funny though, because like MauLer's been really careful to shield me from like spoilers, and it just so happens that like 20 years ago, when I happened to watch Serenity on TV, I came in at probably the biggest spoilery moment that ruined the death of a character. I just happened to see that like 5 minutes of footage. So I feel bad about that, but you know what? I'll save that for when we watch it.
Yeah,
properly.
Look forward to it. It does kind of go back to me, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which really unfairly got cancelled before we got a good resolution. And they should do one fucking feature-length movie on Netflix for it. They should, though, because the guy who plays John Connor is like 20 years older now. He should be a bit more battle-weary. We could get a really good fucking last movie out of that spin-off shot. And yeah, we're not gonna get it. Come on, make it Netflix, for fuck's sake. Put my money to fucking good use.
What is your guys' takes on the Sarah Connor Chronicles? Because back in the day, I never really gave it the time of day. I couldn't be bothered watching it, and I just thought, oh, it's going to be some like low-budget TV show knockoff of the Terminator movies. Is it worth your time? Is it worth watching?
It is. It's got some hit and miss episodes that are fucking filler, but it's more respectful for the Terminator franchise than the last two fucking pile of shits where, you know, the movies anyway, the last two movies, I should say.
Yeah.
It has to be better than those. But like, you know.
Yeah, Lena
I never
is
watched
really
it
good
myself.
as Sarah Connor. She is. I mean,
I
every
think
time
it's-
she starts the next
yeah.
Miles Tyson, she's trying to go out of her way not to kill him because, like, she remembered what happened last time. She's like, okay, these guys don't know what they're getting into. Let's not kill them. Let's try and convince them not to create the next Skynet. And I like that. That shows her character has evolved.
Did you guys watch the Terminator Zero show?
Yes.
Like the anime one?
Good in places.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, MauLer. I don't know if we got a chance to talk about it. Did we?
I think we had like I don't think it was ever on any catch-ups or anything. I think we just had a discussion like offline, but yeah,
Right,
I don't know. I thought it was fine.
I like the fact that it took the narrative outside of just like Southern California, like, and it wasn't just about the Connors. Like, it broadened things out to seeing like the events from different perspectives from a different part of the world. And so I like that. I did like the idea of playing with what happens when the Terminator like spawns into a place where like guns are not like widely available as they're not in Japan, and stuff like that. I thought was pretty interesting. It was just nice to see a different perspective on the Terminator lore. And you know, it definitely plays with like the alternate timelines thing. Like, I think that's kind of the path that it ultimately takes you down, where it's not just like one timeline that can be altered here or there. It's like there's infinite variations of it, and I thought that was okay. I quite liked some of the characters on it, so I don't know. I thought it was probably the most interesting take I've seen on the Terminator franchise since, I don't know, the 90s, probably.
Still can't believe what they did to Sarah Connor's characterization in Dark Fate. Her son gets murdered at the beginning of the film when he's 13.
She has to learn to be fucking human again.
She goes hunting for Terminators when she receives emails from a Terminator who's lingering around, who's now married and sells drapes for a living. That's the setup at the beginning of that film. That's Sarah Connor's fight.
That was purely that was purely because like Arnold can do deadpan humor, and they thought, cool, let's exploit that. But was it Tim Miller who did this one?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and he made that a really unfortunate statement about what even is her name, Grace?
Oh yeah,
Grace, the androgynous thing. Saying like, oh yeah, you know, if you're enlightened, that you'll really like this character, but if you're some regressive MAGA chud, then you'll just hate her. And I just thought, why would you do this? You're setting yourself up for a fall with this one, my friend.
Yeah, he seems to have calmed down a bit. He's like admitted, yeah, it was a fucking major failure. It was in an interview with a guy, and it was like, hey, Terminator Dark Fate was a big success. It made all these millions. It's like, no, it was a fucking flop. It was bad.
Yeah,
it was fucking terrible.
I honestly can't make up in my mind what was worse, Dark Fate or Genesis.
Aren't you?
I think Genesis is worse, I think.
I mean, watching Skynet go through puberty was that took a lot.
I mean, I used to have trouble with it, but Gary has since convinced me of repeating over and over again. They made Sarah Connor frustrated about being the mother of John Connor, and they executed young John Connor. Dark Fate takes the cake, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Plus, taking the idea of Skynet and just replacing it with Legion, which is virtually identical, but from a different universe or whatever.
They got rid of Skynet and John Connor. They brought in Legion and Girl John Connor.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Ugh, they picked the worst actress for this as well. Because I think there's a bit of a lost art to this sort of thing. Like, if you're going to have like a really compelling female action hero, you need an actress. And some of it comes down to the writing for sure, but a lot of it comes down to the actress who embodies that role. And the examples that we always cite are characters like Ellen Ripley. Sigourney Weaver is a tough-looking actress. Like, even in the first Alien movie, she looks not just like this sort of soft, pampered Southern Californian liberal actress that you would expect. You know, she looks interesting, and she looks like she can handle herself in a tough situation. Same with Linda Hamilton, particularly when you get to the second Terminator movie, like when she works out and she's like a bit more muscular and she looks aggressive and dangerous. She's not like a physical powerhouse or anything. She's not like able to overpower guys who are twice her size, but she's a scrappy sort of fighter. And again, it works for the character and you buy into the idea that she can do this stuff. And
has anyone read the original script where Enrique wasn't this friend of hers, but it was another guy who was an ex-boyfriend who was an ex-soldier she used to shag, and just in order to learn military tactics from him so she could teach it to John later. It's you really check it out. It's on the special edition DVD. It's really worth a read. It's very fascinating, and it does kind of show there's a lot of regret with Sarah Connor as well, that what she's had to do just to make sure her son becomes this big leader in the future.
Yeah. Well, John says it himself, like when he's talking to the Terminator, he's like, she would shack up with anyone that she could learn from. Yeah. And you know, I think you can imply from that, like, she didn't want to do it, but like it's necessary for her to gain the skills and the knowledge that she would need later on. And that's almost like a sacrifice that she's making for the greater good of like keeping him alive when the time comes, which speaks pretty highly of her character. You know, but yeah, the point I was going to make there is that when you try to then port in this new Sarah Connor type character or this new John Connor type character in Dark Fate, they pick this like 4 foot tall, you know, like 20-year-old Latino actress who looks like she's never seen the inside of a gym in her entire life. And like, I can't believe that she can do anything like that. I can't believe that she's a fighter, that she's dangerous, that she's determined. She doesn't embody any of that because she's not the right casting for that role.
All that fucking scene where she's dressed in combat fatigues and everything. She's just not convincing, and I really am not against this actress. I really am not. She's trying her fucking best, and I don't think she's acted ever since, and I don't blame her. I really don't. She's just looks like a little girl playing dress up. Sadly.
Shivers down your spine at the delivery of "We're going to stand and fight" line.
Yeah. Does she say like at one point, "Fuck fate"? It's just like the most. It's the most cringy moment. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like bad dialogue combined with a bad actress delivering it, or a bad actor in any case, really. It's a deadly combination for your movie. I mean, you know, Genesis wasn't immune to that either. Casting Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor,
such a fail.
Man, name me a bigger downgrade. Like even like Lena Headey. Like I'm not a big fan of her as an actress, particularly, but
she makes way more sense as
Sarah Connor. I can see why.
Lena Headey, I will fucking defend. She's good in Judge Dredd. She's a fucking good Sarah Connor. She would have been a very good second casting for Linda Hamilton. She's the only one I think who can take the helm.
That's what I was going to say. Is like I think I can see why they cast her to replace Linda Hamilton. Like I think she was an okay follow up. She still feels like a bit of a downgrade, but I can see the DNA is there.
I've
yeah,
got
Got to
a
do a watch party, man. Got to do a watch party for Sarah Connor Chronicles. It's like I said, there are a few episodes that are a bit fucking filler. It does take a few liberties. Like Carl now has a brother, and but he was kind of cool as well. He was a bit more ruthless than Carl. He was a bit more darker, and I did kind of like it.
Wait, you saying Kyle Reese had a brother who went back in time?
Yeah, it's very retcon, but I'll give credit to the actor. He actually does do a good job. He's a bit more fucking brutal than Kyle Reese would have been, I think. He comes across it anyway.
How did they reconcile that with T2? Or they just she never mentioned the whole brother thing.
It does take liberties. Even they say, well, Cal never mentioned he had a brother. It's like, yeah, not fucking shit, Sarah. But I did like the actor who played him. He did a good job. I'm not going to lie. He does well in the role, even though it is a little bit retconned.
So people are mentioning as well, Summer Glau, who was obviously in Firefly, was in the Sarah Connor Chronicles. She was a female Terminator, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's actually pretty fucking cool in it. She kind of has this very innocent look, but at the same time, she's this unfeeling, emotionless robot who will let innocent people die if the mission calls for it. She's kind of creepy as well, and all she has to do is look a bit doe-eyed and innocent to do it.
Yeah, I did like this as well. Reese was also downgraded, no replacement for Michael Biehn.
Oh
no,
yeah.
I feel so sorry for him.
He was. He's actually pretty fucking good in the terminal list, but he was not a good choice for Kyle Reese. He was too big. No. He was too buff. Kyle Reese, when you look at him, he's very now Morrished, isn't he? From all the battle he's done, he's hardly had any time to eat because he's been trying to survive, and it made sense.
Yeah, Michael Biehn embodied that quite well. Like, he was quite strung out. He was quite, like, again, scrappy looking, and like you felt that this is a guy who's just like barely hanging on.
I feel so sorry for him because there was a cut scene from Terminator 2, which was him just for about almost a minute, talking in like a dream sequence to Sarah, saying, "You have to get up, Sarah. You have to do this." And I just felt so sorry for him because he would have prepped for it. He would have done so much work for that scene.
Yeah.
And probably gone to the premiere. Oh no, they edited me out.
It's always done for like pacing reasons, isn't it? It's like when you see the extended cut of like Aliens, where you got like the smart gun, the scenes, and like the
love those scenes.
Yeah, like it was done obviously to make like a leaner, meaner theatrical cut, but like when you watch that, it's like, oh, okay, this is probably the better version actually, and it's the same with T2.
I mean, the extended Aliens also, you've got the scene with the revelation about the daughter right at the start, which just completely contextualizes.
Yeah. Sigourney Weaver was pissed about that. She was pissed.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. There's actually some really interesting cut scenes from the first Terminator movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, where Kyle, like Sarah tries to run away, and he chases her to it's like a creek bed or something. So they're out like just in the woods, and he's surrounded by all this greenery, and he just takes a moment to look at it, and he's like breaks down crying, like, I've never seen this in my life, because the world I grew up in is this like post-apocalyptic war zone. Like, we don't have trees, we don't have grass, we don't have bushes or anything like that. And he just sees that, and he's crying about how it's all lost, and he's never going to, all of this is going to be gone one day. And again, it's all cut from the movie, and it's unfortunate because it's some good stuff there. It's some interesting character development, character moments.
If there were any scenes in any film that I would choose to have restored, it would be those automated guns in Aliens. It's so visceral and exciting. I love those scenes so much.
Have you seen the bit where Ripley runs into Burke in the Alien?
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Yes,
I can feel it inside me.
Yeah, I don't like that scene.
Because he's just kind of redeemed himself, hasn't he? He was like, game over, man, game over. But then he goes out like a fucking boss, and then he turns up later, and he's kind of...
No, this is Burke we're talking about.
Oh,
not Hudson, Burke. Like,
fucking hell.
Yeah, the Burke scene is not, as far as I'm aware, it's not in any actually released version of Aliens, but it is a scene that was filmed, and I think it's on the bonus features.
Yes,
the reason they cut it is because they wanted to keep the pace super tight for that 15-minute segment when Ripley goes into the nest to find Newt. And if she stops and finds Burke and they have a little chat, then it's I guess nice to have that little conclusion, but it's also completely unnecessary.
I think so. Yeah, I can see why they cut it out, but
I'm still pissed off about Ian Holm. I can't get over it. It's been months.
I still haven't seen the film.
Yeah,
I know
that
they
was
probably got
brutal.
permission from his family to have Ian Holm's likeness in Romulus, but it still felt fucking off. It really did. I don't care what anyone says. It's weird. Just get another actor as an android that's been splattered. You know, it would have worked either way.
In terms of like key jangling, like Alien Romulus is to the Alien franchise what Ghostbusters Afterlife was to the Ghostbusters franchise. Just like, hey, remember this thing? Remember that thing? Remember this line that someone said once? We're going to recycle it here.
About the same.
Ridley Scott had his fingerprints on that fucker. He really did way too much. And the guy who directed it, Fed Alvarez, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Fede Alvarez, yeah.
I think he would have done a really good fucking job if Ridley Scott just fucked off. I really do.
I just credit Ridley with just being like, I want more black goo in this.
Remember,
got to incorporate the black goo.
All the remedy is more black goo.
Yeah.
People always hassle me when I say that that was my worst film of the year, but I stand by it. I think what they did to Ian Holm was unforgivable. I think "Get Away from Who You Bitch" was by far the worst line of dialogue this year. So I stand by it. That's my worst film of the year.
It's pretty bad.
Above Madam Web or below Madam Web?
Oh, Madam Web is delightful. You can enjoy Madam Web. It's goofy, it's silly, it's charming. But this was just it was a desecration.
On the topic of Ridley Scott and key jangling, got to mention Gladiator 2. Because the number of times when they just threw in a reference or a direct line from the first one was just sat in the cinema like, oh God, stop it. I know what you're doing. Please just stop it.
We're getting off traffic. We're getting off fucking topic now.
There are no topics here. The conversation goes where it has to, okay?
Where we're going, we don't need topics.
Well, we do have a good thing to talk about. It's the 28 years later trailer.
Oh,
yeah. Let's talk about it right now.
Let's talk about that. I like that.
God,
I think we all liked it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like
fantastic trailer.
It's a great example of like bringing back the lost art of making a trailer that just shows you enough to get you interested, but doesn't tell you too much about the plot. And I thought that was great. The use of Boots by Rudyard Kipling. That was good stuff. The way it slowly becomes more and more like hysterical as the trailer goes on. That's some good shit, man. It creates a nice unsettling atmosphere. That's what I want from a
Stein with Teletubbies, really putting the audience in a horror vibe, you know?
Yeah, it's like this whole innocent world has just come crashing down now. I love that. It's like a nice little metaphor. Probably a little on the nose, but still a good metaphor.
There was a whole generation that would go out to clubs and raves on E, and then while still in a passive, delightful mood coming down from that E, would watch Teletubbies at 7 in the morning. It was a whole generation.
We've all been there, Echo. We've all been there, okay? I did things in the 90s I'm not proud of.
But as an English grad, I published in Kipling's Five Nations collection, the poem about the Boer War. I thought, that's nice. That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Well, I think it's... the trailer gives people a lot of things to chew on as well. Like, I think we can surmise from this that, we're still trapped in the UK. It seems to be under quarantine still, but like isolated settlements of people have managed to survive. I like the little billboard thing that you get. Like, these are the acceptable roles within our community, and it's basically like, seamstress or like person standing on the watchtower or hunter or like you have to do something super useful to the community in order to stay here. Otherwise, you're probably out. And that's the world that these people are living in. It's survival, bare essentials. Presumably, the main characters, like I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing one of the main guys. And it's going to be interesting going from Kraven the Hunter to this. Like, wow.
I hope this cements him as the next James Bond. Because if Kraven the Hunter fails and he has nothing good to fucking fall back on, it could end his career. I may be wrong, but
I think this will help him a great deal. But yeah, like it seems to be like he and a kid have to venture out into the mainland because they're living in this like island community, and they have to go onto the mainland. And the infected are still there in some capacity. They seem to have survived. They've evolved, as far as I understand it, to the point where perhaps they're a little bit intelligent. That seems to be the premise here.
Well, yeah,
that
exactly.
to me is the bit that kind of
just people that have just had this virus that makes them a bit more aggressive and rageful and just downright violent. And I don't know, maybe they do have some kind of like wits about them still, even despite their temperament. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I was trying to think when watching the trailer, like how can the infected still be out there? And if they're not still out there, how can you have another outbreak? Because the way that you get the outbreak in 28 days is like, oh well, this has just kind of happened because experimentation and like vegans or whatever it was. And then the second one, they had to basically create a moment of the military being idiots in order to allow it to happen. And like generally, I think Weeks is a good movie, but that was contrived as hell, and I think everyone can agree on that. But correct me if I'm wrong, towards the end of 28 days, you see that the infected are starving to death because they are humans at the end of the day. So surely they can't still be out there. It's going to have to be another outbreak that is, I don't know how that could possibly.
So yeah, there's two possibilities. One is that it's not actually the infected anymore. It's like humans who are taking on characteristics of the infected. It's basically just they've reverted to tribalism, you know, because they're living in this world of just brutal survival, and so they're acting like the infected, but they aren't actually. Or the virus, the rage virus, has evolved or changed in some way, in the way that, you know, COVID went from like this thing that everyone was terrified of to like, basically you'll feel a bit shit for like a few days and then you'll be all right afterwards. Like viruses want to optimize their ability to transfer to another person. So if you kill the host too quickly, you're not an effective virus. And so they gradually become milder over time. And maybe that's the idea here, where the infected retain some element of intelligence that allows them to hunt, feed, sustain themselves, but they're still consumed by this rage, this desire to kill. It's too early to tell what the trailer is trying to show us here, but like those all possibilities are all open, I think.
Well, keeping it vague is always a good thing.
Yeah, you can have viruses which can incubate, you know, for decades sometimes. So that's not a problem for me. Yeah, it looks great. The first film was such a revelation, and it was on such a micro budget too, what they could do with it. Like those scenes where he's woken up and he's just wandering around a totally empty Westminster. They literally just found like 6 a.m, 10 seconds where there was no one literally there.
They did it like at the height of summer, so like as early as possible when the sun would be up. And filmed it when there was almost no one around, and because that movie had a budget of $8 million, tiny by today's standards.
If you've been down London, it's like it is fucking busy. I mean, where I live, if it's like fucking 6 o'clock, the street starts to become a bit more quieter with traffic, blah blah blah. But London, it's like 11, 12, 1 in the morning. It'll still be fucking heavy because it's such a busy city. So the fact that they went to these lengths to get at the right time in London where everything was quiet is a fucking miracle. I'm surprised they pulled it off, especially back then.
It was such a cool setting for it as well, because outsiders to the UK has such a bleakness to it, with the harsh weather, the kind of societal decay, which is just there on the fringes, the housing estates.
What do you mean on the fringe?
Yeah, and the scenes where they have to go, the car is broken down and the tunnels, and they use darkness beautifully. They use shadows beautifully to show the rage, coming through the tunnels and stuff. It's incredible. There's even one scene which always makes me laugh, where one of the soldiers, like a mine blows up one of the zombies outside the compound.
I got one. What you want a fucking medal for it?
No, he goes, fucking hell, mate. I love the delivery.
Yeah, that is a proper fucking working class lad blowing up zombies.
But yeah, it's a movie as well that had a lot of things to say about like how easily society can collapse, and how we can revert to barbarism quite quickly. You know, like the soldiers that seem to be promising salvation, their solution is essentially, we're going to hole up here until the infected all die, and if we can get any women on board, like to satiate the troops, then all to the good. That's pretty much their thinking there, and it's like that's it. There's no magical solution. There's no like miracle cure to this thing that they're looking for. It's just hoping that you're going to outlast the infected around you. And then there's moments like when they look at the for example, they're out in the countryside, they look at the horses that have escaped from like a farm or whatever, and they're roaming free. Talking about like how nature kind of reasserts itself to find a kind of a balance, I suppose, when us miserable humans aren't fucking things up for everyone. The movie, I feel like, you know, it has a lot of interesting things to say, not just about human nature, but about actual nature. And you lost a little bit of that with 28 Weeks Later. It was more of a conventional, just
more
horror.
Hollywoody.
But that
more
sequence,
Hollywoody.
28 weeks later, though, everyone was saying, hey, it's a pretty good sequel. I was like, you know what? I can fucking watch 28 Days Later and be okay with just that and not watch the second one. I can. It's like, I love Jeremy Renner, but I don't know. It just felt a bit fucking, a little bit too, far-fetched that it would just go straight to France straight away. I don't know why. It seemed to skip that bit a bit too much without any context, if I'm being honest. Anyone
that
can
opening
explain
sequence, though?
let me know.
The opening sequence pretty good.
Yeah.
There's moments of
plus-
greatness in Weeks, and the opening sequence is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When everyone's hemmed in, that room, you know, there's like 100 people all there, and there's like flickers of darkness and light.
Yep.
And everyone's just ravaged. That's great. Plus, I think one of the best, maybe even the best, modern horror film soundtrack themes. It's just 4 notes, and it just lurches and sags underneath as the chord changes underneath it, and then builds up and builds up and builds up to this thrashing. That theme is so good.
I think as well, like the bit that always sticks in my head was when Robert Carlyle like gets infected by the rage virus and like murders his
Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking brutal, that.
It's the fact that it's like, because you can imagine something like that like being horrific enough, like if you were just like stuck in the room with him, but like the fact that she's strapped down to the table and she can't even like move or defend herself, and like, oh god, it's so, yeah, it's so brutal and disturbing. Yeah, like there's definitely things to, from a horror point of view, there's definitely things to appreciate about that movie, but with this one, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see where they take it. They've got a good cast on board. You know, they've got Aaron Taylor Johnson, they've got Jodie Comer, they've got who was the dude from The Menu?
Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty solid cast on board there. So, I mean, hopefully they're going to do something good with this.
Well, and you've got the same.
Doesn't fuck up the second one, because
this is my worry.
yeah.
Because when I made my review of this, my understanding was there was going to be 2 new movies. There was going to be 28 Years Later, and there was going to be The Bone Temple, and that was it. But apparently there's a third one as well. So there's going to be a new trilogy of films. And this comes back to the whole IP mining thing that we talked about earlier, where it's like, okay, we had a good idea, and we're just going to keep making more and more movies about it until we eventually run out of interest. Because I could see one more movie to round out the trilogy and to bring this narrative to a close. 2 more movies, like, oh, you're pushing it there. And then 3, like, fucking hell, is this ever going to end? Is it just going to be The Walking Dead?
Did you mention earlier that they were filming the first and second back to back?
They are. Apparently, yes.
That is even more bold, because they don't know, you know, what you would usually do in the days of old is you would make the third movie after a 20-year gap or whatever, and then you would be like, hey, this did really well, let's make another one. But now they, for some reason, the only time I can think of when that kind of thing has happened is with the Matrix sequels and the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, when parts 2 and 3 were made back to back, because they knew, because of the success of the first, that it was going to be a trilogy. And if the second one doesn't do very well, that's a risk that they're going to take. Doing that for 28 years later, I think it's 18 years after the previous movie. That's a massive risk.
Yeah. And to switch directors mid-production as well, like to film 2 movies back to back, but have different directors for each one. That is like, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before.
But what risk could there be with Nia DaCosta? I mean, there's no risk.
Sure. I mean, the person that gave us the Candyman remake and the Marvels, like, wow, that's quite a strong pedigree, like, right there.
Well, everyone talks about the Candyman remake. It was a really good film.
Yeah, but she'll walk off halfway through like she did with the Marvels, and hopefully they'll get someone a bit more competent. Who knows?
I do wonder, like, was this like some kind of clause for getting this thing made? It's like, okay, Danny Boyle, like one of the greatest directors from Britain that's still working today, you can make this third movie in the 28 Days Later franchise, but we've got a condition. You have to also include a diverse woman of color in this production as well. It's like, okay, sure, fine. That's the only way I can think of it. Because, like, what the fuck?
There is a lot of about. There's always these box ticking things going on where they have to include this and that in the sake of diversity, and it's I would not be surprised if that was the case.
I could be miles off base with this one, but I just think, like, yeah, like, what other reason can I think of to include Nia DaCosta in this? Like, what lends her to this franchise?
Is she even from the UK?
I think she is.
She's American, isn't she?
Is she? Ah.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
Well, what
She
I
is
like...
American, apparently, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. But what I like about this film, prospectively, is that with the first two, and with all zombie films, you've got very clear extremes of there's the zombies who have no humanity or divested of it, and then you've got the humans with the pure humanity. This film, you've got the rage virus seems to be evolving so that you've got some sense of consciousness or awareness among the zombies, so that's blurring that and getting closer towards the middle. And the humans, they're so far evolved and beyond from after societal decay that it's slightly like Threads, where they've become hardened and lost their, societal foundations and all those things as well. So you get this interesting pushing towards the middle where there's some interesting blurring and tension there. So that could be really interesting to play with, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll become a bit more tribal because everything's gone to shit now. Yeah, we've lost the conveniences of modern technology, our iPhones, and we're going back to more primitive necessities.
I think it does. It does tie into that whole idea, like that the first movie touched upon, was like how quickly does society collapse, and not just society in terms of like the infrastructure and stuff, but like our idea of like civilized behavior. How quickly do we let that go in order to stay alive? That's a pretty interesting thing to toy with. The idea that this civilization that surrounds us is just this very thin veneer that's keeping things running, and it doesn't take much for that to wear away. And
it's like children of men.
For birds, anyway, where a virus has pretty much wiped out, civilization, but people are still alive, and we do kind of revert to a bit more of a more primitive state, like of living. I don't know if anyone's read that book. I recommend it anyway.
Which one is it? Sorry,
Air for Birds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've got the book somewhere. Let's have a look. Where is it?
That's why I like Children of Men, because it's
Roger Stewart. That's it.
Okay. Children of Men, because it's society which is mostly gone, but still basically with some of the fundamentals of it. And again, that whole English bleakness and societal decay and misery is perfect for it.
There's something about being in the UK that just lends itself to like post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah,
nightmares. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like because we're kind of halfway there already, so it's fine.
seems that way.
So we're already there.
Yeah. Again, like this idea, like if you were to try and do something like 28 Days Later in America, it wouldn't work so well because people are much better prepared for that sort of thing. They'd probably be able to defend themselves, and it would just become like a turkey shoot. And so it doesn't work there. It does work here, though.
Apart from Texas, they're very old school. They're like, they're very old school people, and I love them for it. I've got a few people who live in Texas, and they're pretty cool.
Well, Echo, as well, you were talking about the idea of like people becoming more barbaric and stuff to cope with the rise of this virus. It brought to mind a movie called Doomsday. I remember seeing it's a Neil Marshall one.
Is that the vampire one?
What's his name? Ron Mitra, who voiced Lara Croft back in the 90s for the game.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, similar idea where like there's been a big viral outbreak. I think it happened in Scotland, and so the whole country ends up getting sealed off from the rest of the UK, and like the people who survive become like these barbaric, tribalistic, survivalists, I guess, who are like constantly fighting to stay alive. And I wonder if they're playing on elements of that in this movie.
I love to see that, despite all the modern technology that comes into play, and eventually our primitive instincts kind of win in the end.
That's what keeps you alive, I suppose.
I love that. I love that element.
I did. We all talked about as well, Cillian Murphy being in the trailer as a zombie.
Yeah, I don't think it's him. I think it's just I think it's clickbait, but who knows? Unless the director comes out and says, "Yeah, it is Cillian Murphy," I'll be a bit pissed off because it would kind of rob that ending of that very ambiguous ending of did they make it out? It would kill that hope as well. I don't want to know if they make it out.
Ultimately, it could be anything. It could be a dream sequence. It could be a nightmare. It could be, a possible future form, or it could just be brother. It could just be an extra. Yes. It could be an extra who happens to look like Cillian Murphy. I don't know.
I just don't like him being in the film, or at least I don't like the character being in the film, because part of the point, it almost feels like they've just been like, well, he was the guy in the first one, so he's got to be in this one. Whereas in the first one, he wasn't anyone special. He was just some guy. So the idea that what possible circumstance could lead to him being in this film now?
Yeah, apparently, people are they've already said that it wasn't his character. So
thank fuck.
That's fair enough. But he is going to be in it. We know that much. Yes. So
yeah, it'd be cool if he did make it out, and he was kind of training some more people to take on whatever it was, and he made something of himself despite everything that happened. Who knows?
Because it's not outside the realms of possibility that he devotes himself to, training up the next generation or being some kind of leader, like he's learned from his experiences in the first film, and he's something more than he was before. He's not just a delivery guy.
Yeah, it could be a good little indication of even when everything goes to shit, there's still hope. You can still fucking prevail no matter what. I hope they do that.
The first movie offered that possibility. The second one, not so much, because then the outbreak is spread to Europe, and so you kind of think, well, is this it? Is this just going to go global now?
Well, that at the time, I believe that at the time was considered to be a retcon, because in the first movie there is a line when they're listening to the radio and it says the infection is running through Asia, or there's a line, it's something like that, and you can kind of get it straight in your head if you accept that maybe the British authorities or whoever would broadcast that as a lie to stop people from the UK trying to leave. I said British authorities. It wouldn't be the British authorities doing that, but other countries would want Britain to think that that it's not safe to leave, so they were lying. I'm guessing that they're going to have to continue with that, because otherwise the entire world has been raged for this new film, which I'm guessing is not the case.
Yeah, but you think, I suppose that's the question then. It's say it was contained within the UK, and you've got this viral outbreak in the UK. What do you do? Do you leave the entire country just sitting idle for decades? Is that what they would do, or would they roll in with the military and try and suppress it?
Maybe it would unite the whole world in peace as they point guns at our island and be like, "Do not fucking leave."
I would probably take off and nuke the entire site from orbit if it was up to me.
Just to make sure.
Yeah,
just get Americans to airdrop us some guns and we'll be okay.
Yeah,
it is kind of that needs of the many outweigh the need of the few. You nuke 16 million people to save billions more. It's that very complicated.
Well, I mean, even the 28 weeks later sort of plays on that. When the outbreak starts happening again, they start launching napalm strikes against a mixture of hostile targets and innocent civilians who are caught in the crossfire, because it's we have to contain this, because if this gets beyond the containment zone, everyone's dead. So that's kind of an interesting thing to play with as well, I guess.
It kind of goes back to what I said. Sometimes people end up doing shitty things they have to do, and it's not always polite. And yeah, life's fucked up sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, it's ungentlemanly.
Is it the Filipino specialist at the beginning of The Last of Us, who just says bomb to bomb the whole island.
Yeah, bomb the whole city.
I don't think I've made it that far on the TV show. I've watched like the first few episodes, and I haven't finished it since. I still prefer the game.
I'm not super excited for season 2.
Not especially.
Yeah, the actress who plays Abby should have been playing fucking Ellie. She probably would have been a good Ellie like 10 years ago if they made a TV show out of that. She's in Justified. I forgot her name, but she's a very good actress. She's very good.
Also, a missed opportunity not to hire Arnie for Abby as well in season 2.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Do whatever you want.
Brock Lesnar could have played Abby pretty well.
Come on.
Ellie's gay, by the way.
The lasso actually was the lead character in Alien Romulus. She probably would have been a good Ellie. She almost looks the role, and it's Bella Ramsey.
Kaylee Spaney, I think her name is, right?
Yeah. She was decent. Yeah, she was decent. How about we answer a few of these super chats that have been piling up? Does that sound reasonable? All right, do it. Brie Larson's toenail clipper. That's the best name ever.
Mr. Brown will be into that. All right.
Well,
I'm not even going to read the super chat. That was enough by itself.
I thought that was the super chat for a minute.
Yeah. Nope. Is it worth anything? Sorry, is it worth watching anything after Aliens and Predator for the respective franchises? Is it worth damaging my headcanon? Probably not.
Predator 2 is fun. I'd watch Predator 2. It's good fun.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, you can go as far as Predator 2 with that, and Aliens. I wouldn't watch Alien 3. If you loved Aliens, just don't tarnish it for yourself.
Yeah,
it's
stick to the first two, and just imagine that Hicks, Ripley, and you and Bishop fucking went to a planet and lived happily ever after. That's it.
So yeah, essentially there was 2 Alien movies, 2 Terminator movies, and 2 Predator movies. There you go. That's it.
I'm a staunch defender of the Terminator film with Christian Bale. I thought that was a good popcorn film with some good elements. It's worth a watch.
It had some good ideas. I just wished I don't know. It's like Christian Bale was so distracted by the fucking guy controlling the lights that it just hindered his performance. Sadly,
Don't shut me up, McG.
You're fucking talking to, mate.
I'd have a half-hearted murmur in defense of Terminator 3, but neither are as good as T102. You know, they're different.
Yeah.
I honestly
T3
think
is just T2 but worse. So it's okay, but it's Whereas Salvation is fine. It's just not a Terminator movie.
John Connor, and I do like the idea that he's still a little bit paranoid that Judgment Day is happening, and he hasn't really moved on with his life. I like the idea, to be honest.
I think if T3 dispensed with the goofy attempts at humor,
yes,
I think it would have been way better. I think ultimately, I feel like you didn't need to do another Terminator movie after T2, but if you were going to do it, I would have liked to have seen it done in the mid to late 90s with James Cameron directing. I think that would be the time when Arnold was still young enough to pull it off, and the ideas probably would have still been there, and the aesthetics would still be there. Tonally, it would have been in line with T2, but we never got it, sadly. The Right Tackle says, have any of you watched Amazon's Secret Level yet? Most of it is pretty rough, but the Armored Core and Warhammer 40k episodes are both awesome. So yeah, a couple of my mates have been telling me about this. I'm going to watch the 40k episode. I don't know about the rest of it, but
has anyone here seen any of it?
Nope.
No.
Can I tell you guys about the Pac-Man episode?
Go on.
The Pac-Man episode?
Is he having an existential crisis by any chance?
No, it's
MauLer.
It opens in a dystopian sci-fi universe where this little goober creature falls out of a pod, and then the Pac-Man ball comes up to it and it's like, hey bud, you gotta eat if you want to live in this universe. And the guy's like, okay. And so he starts running around killing crazy monsters and eating them, just eating all kinds of things. And then the ball is like, you can eat ghosts too. And he's like, I can't eat ghosts. And she's like, you can, but you can't eat their eyes. Because you know how in Pac-Man the eyes go back to the... So it's like, what? And so then he keeps eating, and then he gets to a big boss. And it's like, all right, gonna eat this boss then. I gotta do that. He loses against this boss miserably. And then the Pac-Man ball betrays him and like eats him from his back to the front and tries to hit like a escape. And the Goblin Man is like, "Oh my God, you are the one that does the eating, and you're the one that's trying to escape." And the Pac-Man ball is like, "Yeah, true." And then it resets, and the Pac-Man ball goes back to the place where the Goblin Man spawned and does the next one. And I think that the idea is, I don't know if the guys are supposed to be like the players, and that the Pac-Man ball is desperately trying to escape, but infinitely can't get out of this horrible world where it must eat. It's like an 8-minute short film, and I wanted to kill myself.
What are you doing to us, MauLer?
Yeah, this is. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but if you're stuck at a party and there's someone on acid who's just sitting next to you on the couch and they're just rambling complete incoherent nonsense in a slow, sluggish way, that's kind of what that was like.
So the ball eats him from the back to the front.
A lot of people are just like, "What are you talking about?" It's real. What I just said is real. It's hyper violent too. I don't know why they made that the way that it is, but when I saw that, I was like, "I'm out. I'm not watching any of this secret level shit."
I don't know if I should watch it now.
It
kind of seems like something I should watch.
An anthology series where the Warhammer 40k isn't the most violent and depressing element of it. Like, wow, that's impressive.
I am looking forward to seeing the Warhammer 1 because it's like a 20-minute long. I guess technically it is still a short, but speculation that the guy who made the Astartes fan animation is the guy that was behind it, or that he was at least involved. Have yet to see it. Don't know if it's good, but yeah, look forward to watching it.
Out of curiosity as well, like apparently the Henry Cavill Warhammer 40k project is moving forward at Amazon.
Yes, they've come to an agreement, and it is now the first of potentially multiple projects. So they've signed an agreement which encompasses multiple IPs and multiple projects. So it's not just Warhammer 40,000; it includes fantasy. And they are now actually entering production for the first show. What it is completely under wraps. Who's involved? How Henry Cavill is involved? If he's acting, producing, we don't know at this point. But it is going to happen. They have started production.
I mean, I would assume if Henry Cavill is involved, he wouldn't have signed off on it if he wasn't pretty happy with the direction they were going. So that gives me a tiny kernel of hope, like that they're actually going to stick to the lore.
Yes.
Henry Cavill knows his fucking nerdom. Henry Cavill knows his fucking nerdom. He really does.
Well, he does, and he's a big fan of 40k, and so this makes me think like he wouldn't sign up for something like this, and he wouldn't green light it if he didn't feel like it was going the direction that he wanted it. So that makes me hopeful, cautiously optimistic at least. But
cautiously optimistic is it's a good way to phrase it, because there's so many stories in that setting that they could adapt, and I'm just dreading them doing like a Rings of Power and just opening it up with, at the end of the first episode, someone just looks at the camera and say, "Hey, hello, Horus. How about some heresy?" And then it turns out that the entire season is about the Horus heresy. Like if they just dive into that immediately,
or
I'm gonna be done. But
Horus like asks the girl out and she says no, and he's like, "Oh fuck you! I'm gonna burn the entire galaxy to the ground." Then,
like what I want to see is something that is relatively small scale. Ideally, you don't see any Space Marines, but maybe one of them appears in one episode because they're not, they're not all over the place in the lore, in the setting. Have it about some guardsmen, and then a Space Marine shows up in one episode, and it's treated as this really climactic thing.
Well, yeah, because like the actual arrival of a Space Marine on any battlefield or any world anywhere, for us, it would be like the arrival of a fucking god. Like,
yes,
they're that powerful. Like they can take on entire armies single-handedly, practically. That's the sense of scale that you want, and then a gradual progression. I mean, damn man, I would have Henry Cavill play the Emperor of Mankind if it was a possibility. But
if they end up doing the Horus Heresy, then yeah, have Henry Cavill in as the Emperor. That would be brilliant.
Henry Cavill should be in fucking creative control of nearly every single nerd fandom thing that's available, because he's very passionate about it.
Imagine if he was the showrunner for The Witcher. Imagine how good that would have been.
Yeah, exactly.
God, he's so fucking good in The Witcher, and it fucking wastes him. It really does. He seems like such a nice guy as well. It's like, what the fuck are you doing to Cavill? Let him be fucking awesome. Please.
I think it's the fact that the showrunners tried to paint him in a negative light, where they said, like, straight up, he was difficult to work with because he insisted on sticking to the lore.
I had
It's
that.
like, oh man, like, what a nightmare, eh? Like a guy who wants to be
The actor
faithful
who worked
to
with
the source
fucking
material.
said- The actors who worked with him said the opposite, saying, no, he was actually a fucking gentleman. He was actually fucking great to be around with.
Yeah. It's like a criticism like that says more about you as a showrunner than it does about him as an actor.
Look at Jenny Ortega with the Addams Family Netflix series. She was they were saying how toxic she was when she was very passionate about how Wednesday should be portrayed in the show. And I agree with Jenny Ortega. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of her, but she seems to have her head screwed on a little bit compared to most fucking actors, especially the Snow White one. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I just absolutely destroyed my microphone there. Sorry. Blue Collar Loser says, I'm seeing Kraven and Lord of the Rings this weekend. Why? I hate myself. Enough to make videos about them. But Nosferatu looks good and Jim Carrey is having fun in Sonic. I mean, we went to opposite extremes. Sure. So Nosferatu comes out on January 1st, apparently. So it's still a while off. A bit of a strange time to release a movie, but okay, sure. I'm hoping it's going to be good. Like, the trailers look good. I've got a lot of faith in the director, so yeah, fingers crossed that's going to be a good one.
I do trust Robert Eggers, and I do like the original silent classic and the remake with Klaus Kinski. And yeah, the story itself does seem very, very close to what Robert Eggers could execute very well. It's it's kind of like a loose version of Dracula, but I still see it working out very well.
Yeah, hopefully. Craig the Bad Guy says, favorite pre-kill one-liners. They can be from characters like Bond, Arnie, etc. They don't just say Blade because we all know that's the best one. So what's the best like final line before a kill?
You're fired.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Fuck.
I think mine might be from Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man, where he's about to take on like a criminal dude, and he just goes, "You're gonna regret this the rest of your life, both seconds of it."
God, that film has gotten so much fucking better. I mean, yeah, it was a cool film when I first saw it back in the 90s, but it's aged better. It's past the test of time. It's aged like a fine single malt whiskey. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. There's another one from Commando. Remember, Sully, when I said I would kill you last? I lied. Oh yeah,
Next
another one
year
from
will
Commando.
be 40 years as well.
You got to cooperate, right? Wrong.
I was trying to think of it. The Arnie one from Total Recall, or see you at the party like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my favorite one, I think.
I hope the party won't be too limiting because you lost your limbs. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Oh god, man. I love Total Recall.
Yeah. Lethal Weapon 2. Diplomatic immunity. It's just been revoked. Another one. Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight. That's a good one. I love how he just acknowledges himself. It's like, it doesn't really mean anything. I just like to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Chat just pointed out another Total Recall one where you think this is the real me? It is.
It is.
It's probably the only version of Batman that this is the actually only version of Batman that got his revenge, and he's still kind of like talking Catwoman out of it as well, because when you watch the beginning of Batman Returns, he's still fucking brooding and miserable and still haunted by his trauma. It's like, yeah, he got his revenge, but it's still not changed him. It's not made him better. So yeah.
Next one is Mr. Smith. Have you seen From on MGM Plus? Really good first season, decent second and third, renewed for a fourth season. I never see anyone talking about it, but it's worth a watch. No, I see it advertised when I'm going through like the streaming services. I haven't watched it yet. Is it Idris Elba that's in that?
No, it's Mercutio from Romeo and Juliet back in the day. The Leonardo DiCaprio one. That guy.
Oh, it's wow! So funny. That's the thing that I associate with him. That it's just that role. I don't know why, MauLer, but it sticks. It's just this Mercutio. It's been 20 years or whatever.
I was going to say, that's a fucking long time ago. I'm sure I watched that in high school.
My friend Toxic has been talking about trying to get me onto a stream to talk about the episode, and I've not seen it yet, so I can't really. So I've kind of refused because I have not watched one episode yet. There's just so much shit.
What's the premise of From?
The premise is when driving down a particular road, I think a tree will have fallen over, and if you decide to go down a road that it forces you down instead of reverse, you'll end up in a infinite loop town where at day they're just these people who are trying to live, but at night these psycho horrifying monsters come out and smile at you, and if they get too close to you they kill you, and you got to stay inside, and you got to have a talisman to protect you from them being able to get in. I saw season 1, didn't really like it that much because too many stupid decisions. It drove me nuts. Like, and really like characters making stupid decisions and getting killed. I couldn't take it anymore because the premise was super interesting to me, but then I was like, man, everyone's retarded. I can't take it.
It's a common problem with modern writing, I guess.
Another thing could be just a show just in itself. It's more like giving deadpan descriptions of bizarre sounding material.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like a Twilight Zone episode, but a full season. And I think, I don't know, from what I've heard of later seasons, they're doing the Lost thing, more and more mystery boxes. Like, what is this? What is this? There's a question. So it's like, depending on how well those are answered, people are finding it more and more difficult to enjoy. But I think people have got a lot of trauma related to Lost. Like, it's
well, it was the first of its kind back in the day. We'd never had anything quite like it before, and man, we had such high expectations for it. It was a more innocent time. Okay, it was the 2000s, and we expected more, and we didn't get it. We didn't know how to deal with it. Now we're just conditioned to expect shit. Different times. Dirty Darty says, if Arcane Season 2 managed to screw up so hard while having the best possible conditions, i.e. money, fan base, talented creators, one should be very concerned about future or other shows like, say, Blue Eye Samurai. Also, nice to see Real Film Talk. Yeah, I mean, sorry, Random Film Talk.
Random Film Talk.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hello.
Brain fart there. Yeah, I mean, Arcane didn't have quite the same mix of people that they had for the first season.
No, but one of the writers expressed quite explicitly that the writing team got shrunk and sounded significant. And then when Christian Link was criticized for having lost the writer that cared about Vi, considering what happened during season 2, but you can say that for everybody. He said, no, same people wrote season 2, which is categorically untrue. So it's a weird situation. What's going on there? He has since said he's going to do better. He's going to listen to the fans and do better next time, because obviously he's got a lot of power related to the future of these shows. But I'm fucking out after season 2. That was a disaster.
Yeah,
isn't that right, Random? We spent like 30 hours talking about it.
The first season was fucking brilliant, and then you get the second season, and it just feels like they're trying to pack too much into one season when some of that stuff could have been expanded on a bit more in the third season if they got a third season. And
yeah, the whole war arc should have been a season unto itself, and it got like 2, maybe 3 episodes at most. Like,
it did a lot of
that's not enough,
right? As well,
I mean, each act could have been a season.
Yeah.
They skipped over so much.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's what was originally planned, and then they just were like, "Well, you can't tell Act 2 without telling Act 1."
Yeah, I get what you're getting with there.
Blue-Eyed Samurai is a one and done, because I don't think it's suited to a second one. It just makes me think, if they'd done War of the Rohirrim, if they'd done that with the art design and style and animation of Blue-Eyed Samurai, that would have been better, because that is
they're not too dissimilar in terms of art style. I think Blue-Eyed Samurai is definitely better, but like I can see that there's a similarity there in terms of just the aesthetics of it. But like Blue-Eyed Samurai ends on a cliffhanger. Like, they obviously want to set up the next season. Like, she's heading off to Britain, I guess. Like, she's making the journey. So, I mean, I hope they do it justice, because I seem to be one of the few people that actually watched it and really liked it. I could see the storytelling potential there. I wish more people had seen it, but yeah, I'll keep my fingers crossed that they don't fuck it up.
I just saw
season does this concept called kill your babies. Like, if you have many great ideas, but it doesn't fit into that one season, that one final season. Maybe then maybe lose them. Make a cohesive story that might make the series work and still feel very consistent.
Yeah. Kill Your Darlings, I think it is. I can't remember as well, but
Well, it's same thing.
Yeah.
You still got a lot of good ideas, but they might not work here in what you want, the way you wished it would think it would.
The Hidden Duck says, "Hi, does anyone watch Dune Prophecy? I give it a go, and it's so damn boring. This moment something promising happens. You already know an hour of nothing is going to follow it." So yeah, like Chris Gore had watched it and then gave us the brief synopsis, and it didn't exactly fill me with excitement. So I didn't really watch any. Like, I didn't really want to watch it. I don't know if any of you guys bothered with it.
Yeah, I did for Outcast's Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, and the first episode was just like exposition, and it just did not interest me. And it's a shame because Mark Strong is a really good actor, and if I hear better things later on, then I might give it a go again. But so far, I'm not interested.
Denis Villeneuve is not involved in the series. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, apparently from another author. Anyway, the ideas that they put into the show is from another author. So,
so it's not even based on Frank Herbert. Okay, my investment is down the toilet in that then, much like Arcane. But
yeah.
Someone mentioned in chat about Arcane. Have you noticed the difference in sort of word of mouth for season 1 versus season 2? Season 2 is pretty much disappeared. It's gone now. Season 1, Arcane was talked about for fucking ages after the first season came out.
No one was talking about season 2.
Even when
it was out, like I didn't see any chat about it.
It's all over the place, season 2. It really is. I mean, the fucking actors are really good in it, though. The animation is still pretty good, and I still like the relationship between V and Jinx. But
V,
I said it's just
bye.
It's like throwing everything at the wall and hoping what sticks. That's the problem with it.
I think it misses Silco, like without him in it, like to anchor it. Like, it's missing something big.
Oh, I love Silco. It's like one of the best villains. He's evil, but you kind of get why he is the way he is. The actor is so good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one is Kogan says, "Have a Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year." Thank you, sir. BTEX says, "Watch Black Sails." I will eventually. Maybe I'll do it over the Christmas holidays. Who knows? Cash.
Yeah, that's good as well. I need to watch it. Fucking hell.
Yep. Cash Akus says, "I went to see Gladiator 2 over the weekend and walked out after the monkey fight. Less than 30 minutes. Ridley Scott should just retire at this point."
It's a funny statement, isn't it? I walked out after the monkey fight.
Yeah. You left at the high point of the movie. Marksman of 117B says, "Can Drinker nail 100 women in one day? Do it, you coward." That was fucking hilarious. It's like,
why do I keep seeing that all over Twitter? Everyone's talking about that.
No, it's like woman lets 100 guys fuck her in a day and then like acts like surprised when she's like traumatized by it and felt like she was just treated like a piece of meat. Like, I genuinely want to ask her, like, what was the best you imagined coming out of that situation? What was your ideal scenario? Like, you'd be fated as like the next big mover and shaker in human, development. Like, what did you think you were going to get out of it? Of course, you're going to be looked down on as like a prostitute. That's what it is. Like, there's nothing impressive about that.
Dude, imagine being the 100th guy.
Anyone remember your
I don't think you would even realize you were doing it.
Well,
like,
it's sausage and down a hallway, I guess, sort of thing.
Be like a wizard sleeve, honestly.
Like a hot dog down the hallway.
How's it organized? Is there like a hallway or a green room outside where what do you talk, like small talk with the other guys?
They just line up.
So it's like, how's your life going? Well, not great. I'm participating in a 100-man gangbang. So
yeah, Mad 99 awesome. And Mad 100 are like, "Do you see the new season of Arcane?" Yes, there's
You have to watch the guys coming out of the room with like shifty, shady eyes, or like avoiding eye contact. It'd be a strange setup. There was Chuck Palahniuk who wrote Fight Club. One of his follow-ups was the whole premise of the story was a woman trying to set the record for the most amount of men she could have sex with in one day. It's the whole premise for the book. I don't think you'd really get that in today's modern publishing environment.
It's just like, especially when it's a girl who's doing it, it's like not difficult. You know what I mean? It's almost like a person with infinite money saying, like, well, how many like fucking restaurants can I go around? Well, as many as you want, really. It just comes down to like your capacity to eat more food. You know,
that's harder because you do have a physical limit on what you can eat, right? But I guess what you're saying is like, how many handshakes can you have? It's like, a lot.
Yeah, kind of. And so, like, there's no limits to really like how many times she can do it. It's just
what
like
you're saying is the men did all the work and she's taking the credit.
There's no credit there. That's the problem. Like, she had the look of, because I saw the interview with her afterwards, and she had the look of like, you know, if I could interview a guy who just came off the Battle of the Somme or something. So, how's your day worked out for you? It's like, not that great. Like,
Did she see the Hawk Tour girl and thought, okay, I got to up the stakes here. Let's go for something bigger.
I bring back to my previous question. Like, what did she imagine was going to be the best case scenario there?
Well, it was probably a publicity thing, right? I've seen people talking about how her mother would have been the one that set it up or something, which is even more.
But isn't the actual record like more like 1,000?
Probably. I don't know.
I only say this because I'm sure that's what the comments were saying on social media. Like that's the actual like record. So like she's not even breaking a record, or she's not even doing anything that can go down in history.
I'm glad this is a topic.
I got it here. The answer, the record is apparently 919 men.
What, in a day?
In a day? 24 hours?
24-hour period. I don't know what this more modern story is, but did she take 24 hours to do it, or was it like, what was the time limit actually? Because I'm
24 hours, yeah.
Oh, I think she shagged them all. I think
she's not even getting a bronze medal for this. Then this kind of just meh.
919. I feel love. You could have just, you were so close. Could have gone for that 1,000.
So,
wait.
So, man, she would have to like to do it. Right, so to do 919 people in 24 hours, you would have to do one roughly every 3 minutes to make that viable.
Stop the clock. Like, hurry up.
Well, in the Chuck Palahniuk novel, the methodology was that they had to edge, I suppose, as it were, to have them close to arriving. When they would arrive.
You'd have to be like, right, no fucking about here. Sorry, bad choice of words. But like, you've got to get to the end pretty quickly. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Okay. Because I'm desperate to move on from this. 925 Moto says Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Not traditional, but John McClane being in Nakatomi Plaza was a Christmas miracle. Kind of was, actually. Yeah.
It makes people have some interesting conversations about what makes a Christmas movie. I've heard different arguments, one including that you don't have any hyper-violence or nudity or anything like that in a Christmas movie because they're supposed to be family movies, which I was like, I didn't know that was the case. And I was thinking about Christmas horror movies. Are they counted as Christmas movies or are they not? Because they're...
What about Bad Santa? What about Bad Santa? That's about a fucking Santa, that.
I've heard the counter that Bad Santa's set on Christmas, but it's not really a Christmas movie. It's not very wholesome, not very family.
What about Violent Night? I mean, that's set on Christmas Eve.
That's what I'm saying. Like
another one.
I'm more than happy to watch. You know, Krampus. Anyone seen that?
Yeah, Krampus is great.
Oh, that's good, man.
You got to consider that a Christmas movie, right? You don't watch that at Halloween or something.
It's inherently a Christmas movie, like both of the others that were just mentioned. And I would honestly say the same for Die Hard. It's not just an action film that takes place on Christmas Day. There are more links to Christmas than that. But it depends on whether your criteria, like you say, is it has to be wholesome and it can't be violent. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, Home Alone has swaying paint cans and doorknobs that are glowing orange with heat and causing burning hands.
Yeah,
so
people would say it's cartoony violence, though, and it's okay. But I get what you're saying.
Well, look at Lethal Weapon. That has a traumatized, suicidal vet who kind of finds his new family in a way. I mean, that's a Christmas film. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Lethal Weapon is a Christmas film. First one, anyway.
I like that there's all kinds of Christmas movies. There's ones you
Yeah.
can watch
Yeah.
with the family, ones you can watch with very young children, but then ones that maybe when everyone's gone to sleep, you can watch at night, and it's like a big scary hot Christmassy thing.
I think my favorite bit in Die Hard is when they crack open the vault and like there's actual like Christmas like symphonic music playing, and it's like they've got their presents.
Yeah, because John
Hans and-
McTiernan did kind of like want to portray them as good guys in a way, like because they are. It's John McClane.
I'm going to portray it
isn't
as like John McClane
Yeah.
is actually the Grinch in this situation.
Yeah,
and
yeah, he's the
stopping
antagonist.
Hans.
Well, they're the protagonist. They're opposite a job, and John McClane is there fucking up what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
They'll be insured. Yeah.
But
Die Hard has wholesome values fundamentally once you get past the violence.
Plus, Hans Gruber's fucking likable. He's kind of cool. I know he kind of had that plan where he had to kill innocent people to make his plan work, but he's such a charming bastard.
I remember.
Though. You kind of want him to.
I think it's as well. Like I'm going to give the movie props for portraying journalists as like morally reprehensible scumbags. As well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, perfect.
When he gets caught and there's that silence for a second, figuring it out, and then he pretends to be just some wayward captured person who's like, "Oh my god, help me, please!" I remember when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, "Holy shit, that's amazing!" I was like, "That's so clever."
There's something I'd like. Maybe you guys can help me with this. Like, when he's to follow on from that scene that you mentioned there, where Hans Gruber's trying to pretend to be a hostage that's escaped from like the main group of them, and McClane asks him his name, and he says his name is Clay, Bill Clay, and then the camera pans to like the floor directory that has the name William Clay on it. What is it trying to tell us there? What is the movie trying to show us? That Hans has seen that and he's just like drawn from it.
It kind of shows he's very good at thinking on his feet. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe he saw the name and he thought, okay.
I don't know. I feel like something significant was going on there. Like that's almost like Hans thought he was being smarter than McClane by giving him a name that seemed to be drawn out of thin air, and then McClane would have seen it and knows that he's lying, but it's not a lie because it's an actual person who's in the building. I don't know. Like, am I missing something?
There are a few plot holes, like when he's the guy who's very good at hacking is like wondering what's happening, and he's like, "Listen, when the FBI get in here, that's the whole plan. I'll give you the KGB," and it's okay. So a few things that he's kind of not told his other guys that he's supposed to tell them. But there is a few plot holes there, but it's still a good fucking movie. I mean, despite what's happening, John McTiernan does a very good job with it, and it's still a very fucking well executed action movie and very well written. And we still love Bruce Willis because he's the average guy, isn't he? He's not like Arnie, who could run into a room and just gun down 1,000 terrorists. He's actually scared of what he's doing, but he still knows he has to do it.
I think the Bill Clay bit is probably it may well have been a deleted scene, and it could be something that happens in the book. I don't know, but I think it's probably reasonable to assume that given how good Hans Gruber is at his job, that after they rounded up everyone who was at the Christmas party, they went around, counted them, took down all of their names, so that way they know who they actually have and they know how many there are. Because if someone were to escape, then that would obviously present a problem. So then him just remembering one of their names tells you that I guess he thought he might need to do that potentially.
You actually have a good point there, because I think John McTiernan actually said in the commentary that Hans Gruber is a little bit pretentious. So yeah, it's that may be possible, because that whole scene with he says Alexandra wept for he knew there were no more worlds to conquer. That kind of hints that Hans Gruber is very smart, he's very resourceful, but he's also a little bit pretentious as well when he needs to be.
Well, yeah, like the fact that he says benefits of a classical education is like, well, you shouldn't really need to show off with that kind of thing, but yeah, it's good. Like,
he's not really a terrorist, is he? He's just a robber. That's it. I mean, even he said that. Who said I was a terrorist?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to remember as well, for its time, like there hadn't really been a villain quite like Hans Gruber before. Like very articulate, very well educated, well dressed, not like a big physically imposing presence, but like a man who was just more of a thinker, and that's kind of interesting particularly for an 80s action flick.
I mean, Bond had a few of those, right, here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to put it in the context of more like conventional action movies rather than like, you know, hyper stylized Bond movies, which are kind of in their own genre with this sort of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah, Bond villains like to be simpering in camp and to sort of luxuriate in their evil, whereas this guy's he's kind of pissed off that his plan isn't going the way it is. He's getting more frustrated. So it was an interesting take on that.
Yeah.
I think
Hands
one of my
little shits down and get me my detonators.
yeah. I think my favorite line from Hans was when he picks out Takagi's suit and he's like, "It's from John Phillips in London. I have two myself," and then he's just leaving the elevator and he goes, "Rumor has it that Arafat buys his there."
That's great.
That's great.
That's why I love Hans Gruber, because there's so much layers to him as well. And this was Alan Rickman's first fucking on-screen appearance as well. And you got to give him that kind of layers. You got to give him that kind of personality. He could have been just another typical German villain, but no, there's something very likable and charming about him, and Alan Rickman just fucking sells it.
So someone mentioned here as well, Clarence Boddicker. I wouldn't put him in the same category as Hans Gruber. Like, just because he wears glasses doesn't make him an intellectual. And like he's more of a he's just like a psychopathic street thug, basically, with like some pretense. He's well connected, but he's not an educated man in the same
The fact
way
that that's
Hans
his
Gruber
name
is.
and we think intimidated or psycho with him, it's like he must have done a good job.
I do like the whole, you know, that scene where he's been beat to shit by RoboCop and he's taken in to be booked at the police station and he spits blood all over the table. That was entirely improvised by the actor. I love that because they wanted to get honest reactions from the extras around there, and that's what they did. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Dear old Alan Rickman, it's so sad that he passed away. He was the perfect Snape. Although apparently Snape can even be bettered now. So that's exciting.
We've got Snape for modern audiences, thank God.
Isn't it interesting that the Harry Potter generation, that was kind of like their Star Wars, sort of. But it's interesting for them because the actors, how many of them have passed away? The actress playing Professor McGonagall, Hagrid, Snape, and the original Dumbledore have all passed on. That's an interesting first sort of shiver of the idea of time and things moving on for that generation. It's really interesting.
It's like when you're a little kid and your first pet dies, or like your great grandparents dies or something. It's like, oh my God, people can leave and then they're not here anymore. I'm like, yeah, maybe it's like that for them. But am I wrong in thinking like it's just a bit sad that like Harry Potter is like this generation's Star Wars?
A little.
Like, I tried to compare them and I'm like, no, fuck off with your stupid like magical eye rolls and bullshit.
I think for a lot of people,
it's actually all right. I mean, right.
Star Wars can be made fun the same way.
And the last two are actually fucking decent. I'll give them credit for that. They actually do evolve the characters and they do sort of like up the stakes a little bit. And it just has.
Did Michael Gambon die?
That's all.
Oh, Michael Gambon died.
He did die. Yes.
Yeah. He
oh my God! Both Dumbledores. God damn.
Michael Gambon's always fucking good.
The old people have this weird habit of dying. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the selfish bastard.
Yeah.
No.
Let's say, why can't they just keep going?
Robbing us of young people who are less talented.
I've still not gotten over Christopher Lee. He was supposed to live forever.
Yeah. And Ian Holm.
Tell you what, though,
still alive, MauLer.
He packed a lot into his life.
I know. Should have gone to space.
Oh, remember that doing Lord of the Rings where he talked to Peter Jackson saying, "You know the sound that makes when I stab a man?"
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Peter Jackson was like, "Oh, you should like cry out in pain." And he's like, "No, I've actually killed people. I was a paratrooper in World War II, and they don't cry out when you stab them."
Ian Fleming was like his half cousin, wasn't he? And Ian Fleming kind of inspired kind of modeled James Bond on him a little bit amongst a bunch of other people who was also in MI6 back at the time, or MI5.
Yeah. I think I just aspire to have a voice like Christopher Lee. I know it's never going to happen, but
we can dream.
Yeah, he's always good.
Yeah.
He's still the best Dracula. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fucking good. He's got that great voice. He's got that great presence, that great... such a great actor, man. It's so sad to see him gone now, but come on. What about who's in his early 90s now, he lived a good life. He did.
He did. People point out as well, like when we were talking about Ian Holm, he isn't dead. He was in the new Alien movie, so that's okay.
Lies.
Yeah.
Thanks for correcting us.
100% convincing.
Mm.
Here's a question, though, from Normal Man. Says, if you consider that Die Hard's a Christmas movie, would you also consider Iron Man 3 to be a Christmas movie as well? Why not?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you could. I'd be interested to hear the argument. The thing about Christmas movie is I usually try and aim for what the meaning of the film regards. And if you're in the realm of making it about a family type thing, it's like you're definitely in the realm of Christmas, especially if you set it within Christmas, you know? And this is what I mean about, we could talk about this for hours, like what makes any particular genre or era or setting or thing. It's like, it's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's not necessarily any individual particular thing. It's a couple of things. It's vibes in a way. But yeah, I mean, you know, Iron Man 3 maybe. I've heard people say that before.
Joking Lee says Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie too. I mean, it was definitely set in around Christmas because Shane Black wrote it, so we know he's got a thing for Christmas. Andrew Eels says he's joined, so welcome to the Fellowship of the Drink, sir. Good to have you on board. Next one is Space Whiskey, who's also joined up as a new member, so thank you. Unfunny German says, wow, why did this not show up on my list? Are you soft blacklisted drinker? I don't think so. I mean, my videos all do well, so I don't think I'm blacklisted. Jeremy Soden says, Madam Web may have a long tail for its kitsch value.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Zodlander says, hi, everyone. In my opinion, Sony should have made a movie featuring the Sinister Six versus the Spider Friends. Maybe Human Torch and Iceman. Have a great holiday. Thank you. And
yeah, they were supposed to do that back in, 2015, 2016? They were really hyping it up that there was going to be a Sinister Six movie going on, but it never happened.
They should just stop making superhero movies. Just stop. Save your money, Sony. Claydex says, why don't you like it? We spent $250 million on this. Sleazy producer, man. Exactly, yeah. It's funny that just throwing money out at a problem doesn't solve it automatically. Razor Burn says, Drinker, I've heard that they're remaking American Psycho. Yes.
Oh yeah, fuck that. Who they cast for some pointless
the guy
reason?
that played Elvis.
Oh yeah. What's the point? Who gives a shit?
I mean, he's not a bad casting. It's just they shouldn't be making the film.
Well, yeah, like that's what he says here. My question is why and who could replace Christian Bale? Anyway, go away now. Yeah, like you're not going to top his performance. And is it a movie that needs to be remade? Why?
It was only like 10 years ago. Like, what a retarded
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
5 years ago, nearly.
They've been more blatant than that anyway. With remakes, you know. Look at Moana.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, is it still going to be set in like the 80s? If so, like it's just more irrelevant now than it was back then. Like, what's the point? Yes, weird, really weird choice. I'm just going to see if there's any more member chats there. I think that was the last one. Yeah. What I'll probably do there is finish up on that one. But gentlemen, panel, it's been a pleasure having you here at this festive time of year. I mean, yeah, I'm the only one who's wearing a Christmas jumper, but that's okay.
Look at me, I'm frosty.
Yeah, MauLer's getting into the spirit, and Echo, I'm quietly disappointed in you. But
that now.
Yeah. But yeah, for everyone who joined us for this evening, thank you, chat. Appreciate your contributions, and hopefully we kept you amused for a couple of hours. And the super chats that we didn't get to, we will of course answer them on last orders. But panel, while you're here, is there anything you want to make the chat aware of? Anything you've got coming up?
Well, we're talking about Die Hard on the next, in a week and a half on EFAB, 21st. It's going to be great. We're going to break down the whole thing. Talk about why it's not only a GOAT, but that it changed things moving forward. What an influential movie.
It was a good old flick.
Well, I went kind of political in my latest video, which is 10 hard truths for liberals. So it's a kind of a political take and it'll be interesting to see how it fares. It'll probably bomb, but I wanted to get it out of my system.
I watched it already. Watched it this afternoon. It was very interesting, actually.
Cool.
And hats off to you for being very honest about all that stuff. So good stuff.
Cool.
Christmas vacation tomorrow at 7 p.m. and probably the Star Wars holiday special review next Tuesday. So far.
Nice. And random? Anything you got coming up you want to make people aware of?
Nothing. Probably within the next month. I'm going to try and get the final Rings of Power video out probably in January, and then after that, it's time to jump back into Arcane Season 2 and find out what happened, because a lot happened, and I don't understand a lot of it. But what I do understand is pain.
Yeah.
You watch modern movies, so yeah.
I do actually hope you get a better job of pointing it out than I did, fucking hell, because I'm still trying to process what the fuck happened in that second series.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take on.
Too much, to be honest.
As for us, we will do one more open bar next week, and then the week after that we'll take a break, because that's going to be like the 26th. So that's Boxing Day here in the UK, and we're all like hungover and tired.
We'll be boxing.
We'll be boxing with like walls and stuff. So yeah, we'll probably take the week off for that, and then we'll get back into it in January. So yeah, next week will be the final one of the year. So we might just do a little recap of the year for that one. We'll see how we go. But anyway, thank you everyone. And for now, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.